Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm 2d6 hunters in the trench coat.
At least 2d6, buddy.
At least 2d6 of them.
This is episode 100, kind of.
Big 100.
Yep. Well, I think it's really more like episode like 115, but it's
the
numbered 100.
Official review onlys. This is the 100th review.
Yes. Yeah, because we've done what I think 9 creator cuts, two at least 2 or 3 specials. Yeah. So, but official number 100.
100.
100. So you'll notice a couple hundreds, little birthday cake situations. We'll take that off. But for those in podcast land, check us out on YouTube. Go hit that subscribe button over there. We are, I think, like 943 subs on YouTube. So very close to partnered on YouTube. So come over and rate that. But you will notice that we do have a little bit of a different overlay, a little update. You know, we have a little bit of a different, for those that haven't noticed, a little bit of an updated logo. It always bugged me. It was a little too tall. I kind of just made it fit a little more squarish. Looks great, if I say so myself. And you'll notice a couple of our URLs have kind of tweaked a little bit. Instead of the Adventure Archive for a lot of stuff, we are now the Weekly Scroll across most of our socials. There is still some Adventure Archive socials, but for those curious what it is, the Adventure Archive is what myself and some people back in the town I was in started during the post-pandemic. We started the Weekly Scroll podcast, myself and Hunter, and then Weekly Scroll is something we've done a lot here with the podcast, and the Adventure Archive has become our mostly our kind of like slightly longer APs, like ARC APs.
AP series.
Yeah, and then the Weekly Scroll has become the podcast, but we also do APs and stuff on it. So talked with Jason, who is one of the original members, one of the only 2, myself and him left, and we decided to at least get the URLs consistent for the Weekly Scroll, since this is the content we put out the most. So that is what you'll see now, where YouTube is the Weekly Scroll. Our Instagram and Twitter are still the same there. Our link tree is still the Weekly Scroll, and we are the Weekly Scroll on Blue Sky as well. So at least a little bit of consistency for us here on the show.
We're all 1580 on Blue Sky.
Woo-hoo! Hey, and if you're not on Blue Sky, go check out Blue Sky, because I can't wait till X is fucking dead, and we can all be somewhere better. So that's where we're at. So today, are you excited for this? Are you excited for this?
Oh, dude, I've never been more excited in my entire life.
That, this warrants that level of excitement. It does.
That's an appropriate level of enthusiasm.
I completely agree. So what we're doing today on episode 100, for those that have been with us from the beginning, or at least close enough, for a while, you know that so Hunter, you know that we give scores to games?
That's true. Occasionally we do that. So
yeah.
Except all those times that we didn't.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is fix that. So about 10 episodes in, we adjusted the way that we score games. We used to give 5 points to 5 metrics, so we bumped it up to 10. But we felt that if you look at like a game like, I don't know, like Death in Space versus like a little zine, it didn't feel fair to rate zines the same way we rated like whole books, because it just seemed, it was not fair. There wasn't enough of a metric go around, and it took us a while, I think up into like the 60s or 70s, before we actually got a zine specific review.
Yeah, I think it was like this year. Like,
oh, yeah, it was well, I didn't mean to, but it was
like, oh, okay. Basement Dwelling Sewer Mutants?
Yeah, Below Dwelling Sewer Mutants was the first one we did.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, for the pause, I am rocking a Wizard of the Bard shirt that says BDSM, but it's for what is it for? Battles, dragons, swords, and magic.
Yeah, but the BDSM game. Yeah, okay, we did rate that one. Yeah. So what was that? Was that March?
Yeah, it literally was like episode 70 or something like that. Like it was pretty recently.
So listen, we missed a few.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, even when we did the year-end review last year, we talked about all of the zines that we didn't review, and people were like, well, why didn't you review them? We were like, this is why. They're like, that kind of makes sense, but it'd be nice if you did. And we were talking for a while, also not talking for a while because we just ignored it for a while, about coming up with a metric, and we finally sat down and figured out what that metric was. So the plan for today, for those that haven't figured it the fuck out yet, as we go around it, we're going to go back to all the zines that we talked about on the show but didn't give a score to, and give it a fucking score. That's the plan.
That's right, y'all. It's the second annual TWS re-review episode. Woo!
Well, we're not are we re-reviewing?
We technically did go through them and gave notes on what we liked and did not like. And we are now re-reviewing them with a new metric, which is what we did last time we changed our scores last year. We re-reviewed. Yeah. Yep.
On like episode 10, and this is episode 100. So it's just,
maybe that was more than a year ago. Well, whatever. Second annual. Don't fact check me if you're listening.
It's whatever.
Or don't fact check anything I say, actually.
Yeah. So. Ever. But yeah, so I'm excited for this kind of like new kind of path forward, little tweak on the logo, little tweak on the layout. We're wrapping everything up with a bow. So when we start 101, we start fresh. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. So I think we have, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
No, I picked a number.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. We have 15 we're going to do.
Do we really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I totally just said a random number. That's so funny. I knew it. Actually, it was my brain working faster than like my subconscious brain working faster than my conscious brain. So
there you go. So what we're gonna do, oh, you know what? I bet you that's not gonna be right now, but it's fine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop into the score thing over here. And we're just kind of bounce back and forth and do it. So why don't we hop? Let's take a peek at Acid Mages.
Oh, yeah. So our first one today, one near and dear to my heart, is Acid Mages of the Infinite Tower, a rules light, very short zine about a psychedelic mages transversing the floors of this infinite tower looking for their grail. You know, amazing game, stylish on every page, and just like very, very lightweight rules though. But but like in a good way. Like this is not a combat game. Functionally lightweight. I think there's a lot of value to the rules that are in here, like the magic system and how it works, and the opposing types of magic, like. That in and to itself is something that like it's fun to play just this, but you can plug it into another game and you run it as the magic system. But like I think the biggest draw of this is like aesthetically, this zine is like it's a cool shape that stands out, and every single page is stylish. You know, it's like every page has its own. There's individual background, and it's very pretty. I really do like this zine. This is I feel like. I got this so long ago, and it was one of my first like very lightweight zines that I got. And I think this was a big point for me to be like, oh yeah, wait, I like when there's a lot less rules and it's really just about like the vibe of the thing, you know?
What's interesting, and I don't know if you're the same way, because when I transitioned pretty hard away from 5e into the indie scene, like I was snatching up zines left and fucking right. I gave so much money to Exalted, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like if anyone's ever like bought a bunch of clothes and then you stick them in a drawer and like 2 years later you pull out a pair of pants and you realize they're like suddenly they're your favorite pair of pants. I feel like I've done that with so many zines where like I bought it not really knowing what it was, and now that I know a lot more about indie zines and mechanics and stuff like that, when I go back I'm like, oh my god, I'm so glad I bought this, because you can't find this literally anywhere, and like even like the itch page for it and shit are just like gone. So
for Acid Mages.
Yeah, it's like really.
I think we that.
Yeah, I was trying to find, like, if you go to this parenthesispress.itch.io, I'm pretty positive. Oh no, it's there. Oh, and there's Acid Mages, but like their website and stuff is not there when I try to find them. And maybe it's back. Maybe I just had like a bad. Oh, because they also did Metal Queens of Skull Mountain.
Yeah, Metal Queens. Yeah, I was about to bring that up. I know it's the other one that they did, and this is kind of like the continuation of that kind of like idea. But yeah, I I love this zine. I still do. And like it was one of my first ones. And so going back through it for this, I'm like, oh yeah, wait, this fucks tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
I really am into this. So
yeah, and like you said, I think it really shines as it's not a combat game. And you're the magic boy, so loving the magic is part of your thing. But I think it also, like, if you ever run into a system where you're like, I really like this, but I don't like the magic. If you wanted to get weird with it, you could, like you said, you could toss us in. That'd be so cool.
You
or at least
totally
adapt it.
Yeah, but I really like the character creation. This too, like creating your wizard that uses like a false name that's more of a title, because wizards inherently hide their true name because it's a powerful thing. There's so much to like the vibe of this. So you want to jump into rating this, or you want?
Yeah, I like this here. It says permission is given to hack, modify, and create derivative works as long as attribution is given, etc., etc. And derivative works do not promote discrimination or oppression in any form. The Infinite Tower welcomes everyone except fascists. So, good times. Thanks for those 1-star ratings on Apple. You fucking all right. So, the review. For those that are not aware, and we'll say this right off the top, we review our normal games on a 5-metric system, and we review zines on a 3-metric system. We basically just kind of like combined some of them down and tweaked it a little bit. So the 3 metrics that we look for in zines are the visuals, which is every aspect of the visuals, the layout, the art, the style, like all of what you can physically see of the zine. And then there's the rule set, which is clearly what that says. And then the vibes are kind of like... it's just a little bit of everything, and the feeling you get from when you read the rules and you look at the zine is kind of like how bad you want to play, and just how fucking cool it feels in your hands. And that's what we do: visuals, rule set, and vibes. So, Hunter, what do we got?
So visuals. It is an incredibly stylish short zine. But my biggest knock is that I think some of the pages there's a couple that are a little hard to read because of what is going on in the background. So that does knock it off a couple of points. I think we went through this together and we agreed on this score. Although I could see it going 1 higher. But yeah, okay, cool. Good. So for visuals, we're giving this one a 7. Which is great. It is really, really good. Bumping up the readability and maybe cleaning up the layout a little bit could probably bump it up. But other than that, it is an enjoyable game,
Yep, for sure.
To look at. For rule set, so this is an incredibly rules light game, and I think that works more to its benefit than its detriment. But there is not like a massive amount of stuff going on here, although it's really cool and it's very innovative with how it uses magic. So we gave rules on this one a 7. And vibes, obviously the vibes are through the roof on this. If you read it, almost like written in lore is amazing. I want to be a mage that takes magic mushrooms to reclaim my magic power. So yeah, for this one we gave it a 9, which is pretty much, that's pretty much as high as you can go on vibes. It'd be hard to find a 10 on vibes,
Did we give a 10 on vibes? We might have, because Kirby's enthusiasm was pretty high on some of these, but I don't know if the zine scores. Let me go to zines here. Nope.
I don't think we gave a 10 on vibes, so
I don't think we have. Yeah, the highest was actually Below Dwelling Sewer Mutants, because that was the vibey.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So I would say that this is probably easily up there with that on vibes. So
yeah, for sure. Thing,
but
yeah. So that gives it what is that a 23? Do I need to do the math for this many?
It's a 23.
23 for Acid Mages of the Infinite Tower. I think that's exactly where that feels. And now that we finished one, the way we kind of did this to break down all of this is we kind of split them in half. We did a little draft, pulled in the ones that we wanted. We individually dug through them deeper again. we gave our scores, and then the other person who wasn't like necessarily the primary person on it kind of like agreed or disagreed and kind of like gave counterpoints for it so we could come to an agreement in the middle of where they were. And we're taking this opportunity here at episode 100 to, I don't want to say we're going to critique harsher. I think our critiques are exactly where we want them, but I think the scores have trended a little bit higher than
we're trending. Listen, we're gonna give you all fucking 3s and 5s now, so you're gonna gear the fuck up.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna do a bunch of crappy games, so if
we're like, it is trading down, but we never do bad games. Like all the games we were like, oh, I like this, so let's go over it, you know?
Yeah. So the scores feel really high, but I think we then need to kind of then rate them on the context of we only do good games versus in the context of all games. So I think we trend to a lot of kind of like 7s and 8s, I think. And I think that number really needs to trend more to 5s and 6s. Like if something is just like, that's fine, that's cool, then that's a 5. That's just an average thing.
Totally.
And that's a trend we're going to go to on that.
So we're going to go back through Hyperborea, guys.
Yeah. Hey, Hyperborea, for people that I get why people that like crunchy stuff like Hyperborea. I just don't.
I think there's plenty of reasons
anyway.
To like it, so
yeah. So my first one that I'm going to go over, I'm going to look at, let me pull, I'll go to the zines over here. So the one that I'm going to peek at, and let's bounce over here, is 17th Century Minimalist.
Great game.
Great game. This is from Games Omnivorous, and you know that Games Omnivorous fucks. And I do have a copy of 17th Century Minimalist somewhere. What I was going to do is pull all of these, because I think I have every one of these except for Clean Spirit. I think I have every single physical one. But then I recently decided to redo my shelf a month ago, so half the books are still on the floor. So that's how that is. Yeah, so 17th Century Minimalist is a historical low fantasy OSR rule book from Games Omnivorous and Andre Novoa. Great book. I mean, we love it. Every time, the thing about this is every time we go 17th Century Minimalist, we both look at each other and go, oh yeah, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? And like, it would be hard, until we reread it again, if I was just like, but why? I think both of us would have been like, I'd have to reread it again, but it was just something just stayed with you. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt about it. So going back over it again. So 17th Century Minimalist, rules wise, it is historical fiction. It is no magic. It's really designed to be set in the time period that it's in, and to be kind of more simulationist, a kind of historical and kind of simulationist, what I mean, and really dig deep into the OSR, when the OSR was kind of OSR business. But basically, it's a super simple rules light game. It's a D20 roll under. It's got 5 stats, one of which is luck. The initiative is interesting because it uses a variant of the Troika stack, which is a choice.
Is a choice. We definitely all feel things about that. So
yeah, I would say that's probably the only thing in the game that for me personally would be a knock. But I do like the use of it here to have something a little bit different. I just wouldn't do it this way.
Are you saying that you're not a fan of the Troika stack?
I'm the fan of the Troika stack, intellectually.
Right.
I think it's a cool design.
Yeah.
I think we both talked about this. I don't like the idea of the neutral die where, your turn you could theoretically not get a turn 3 in a row if someone just keeps pulling it.
It could just be one person goes and the round ends,
Yeah. Which, intellectually, I think that's cool, but the point of the game is to have fun, and I'm not gonna have fun if I'm not able to contribute or play the game a bunch of times. You know what I mean?
I do really see that. I never play as a player, so for me, this is the kind of thing I'm I don't think my PCs would be really stoked if they combat round's over, time to start again. All right, well,
yeah. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, intellectually, I think it's a really cool, interesting mechanic.
It is
It's
a really cool idea.
Yeah, but in practice, I don't know if it's my favorite. What else do we got here? The fight back mechanic is there's some really fun, interesting little systems in this that I really enjoyed and I wanted to touch on. So the fight back mechanic, when someone tries to hit a character in melee and fails, he or she can immediately roll to hit against the same adversary with a melee weapon or with a pistol. The roll to hit is made with disadvantage. So basically, good guy or bad guy, if someone tries to hit someone and misses, the person they try to hit gets a disadvantage shot against them every time. That's cool. Love that. Yeah.
It's funny. We were just before we started talking about Verimhack and like the current rules changes, but they have like a fight back mechanic. Like there's a like trading of blows, but it's a little complicated. And that the fight back mechanic in this 17th century minimalist is way cleaner and way less confusing to read. I like that a lot, actually. So
yeah. And I mean, and Guild has a mechanic that's not necessarily exactly the same, but like if you hit somebody, like they get an option to like close the distance with you and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, I love it. Yeah, if they're shooting at range and they miss, yeah, you can you can run up on them. I'm like, oh, that's hard as fuck, bro.
You know, one thing I like about that, two things I like about that. One, it makes combat feel more brutal. Like it's more dangerous, everything you do.
Totally.
But two, it keeps players more engaged. Like how many times have you sat around a 5e table and it like, even if you're trying to pay attention, it can take so long to get back to your turn. It becomes like just a slog and you're not engaged in the game. But like in this, you then have to be engaged all the time because if someone tries to hit you, you have to know what you're going to do back and stuff like that. So I think it's just a way to keep things more engaged. Armor is interesting in this too. Again, like a cool system. Each type of armor grants a number of d6s equal to the value. And when a character is hit in combat, they may choose to use one of those dice to ignore all damage taken. We talked, this could be a token, but that's an interesting way to do it. Reputation that actually matters. When we get down to that, the firearms, I'm not going to dig into it. Anyone that watches the show know I don't like firearms. The firearms on this is really well done.
You really don't like firearms. So.
No, a lot of them are poorly done, but this one's really cool. There's like a misfire table every time the chance, and really the amount of time it takes to load. Basically, you get like one shot and it might misfire. That's cool. I like that. And then if you look at, like I was saying with reputation, the things you do can actually give you good or bad reputation, virtuous or vicious stuff. And then those things can actually give you tokens to use for infamous or famous tokens. So you actually get mechanical benefits for the reputation that you earn, which a lot of games have reputation in a very abstract way.
Yeah,
actually
totally.
Quantifying
it's meaningless essentially in most other games. But yeah, this one gives you something to actually hold on to.
Yeah, and to use for example, like if you spend a famous token, you can hire a retainer for free or receive an exotic gift or get free lodging. Like it makes sense. Like you're famous, you know? People are gonna start
totally.
fucking.
Yeah, someone's gonna want to follow you, you know, or like, oh yeah, come stay at my place, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the characters are really cool when we get down to the characters. And each one has its own individual character sheet, which is great in the book. Like it gets its own like 2 whole pages. For doing stuff, so it's really cool that they did that.
It kind of reminds me of like a PBTA like character sheet where it's like, oh, each like class is like just it has like a 2-page little
like a playbook. Yeah,
like a playbook, you know.
It does kind of remind me of the same. Yeah, absolutely. Is that in? I guess it's not in. I mean, Black Hack is, but in the list of the things, but yeah, so that is that 17th century minimalist. I love these cute little fucking drawings all throughout the whole thing. Consistent art style, layout's cool.
Also,
I like that it's not
the whole like parchment color background and like the red accent text instead of just being black and white, which we're gonna see a lot. And like, you know, we talk about that is like what we consider to be like the
basic,
like
standard.
The standard. Yeah. That like is black on white. Like that's a 5 more or less. But like this is like a little bit nice to read. That like parchment color kind of elevates it in the accent, and then like the little like in-page art pieces, the little like almost like pencil drawings or like crayon drawings are like they're really good, you know.
For how simple they are, they're really good.
No, I think like it's such a good part of it. Yeah, they are simple, but like they're really good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, visually, this is how to elevate a layout. Like, you know, there was some discourse floating around about you have to have art in a book. No, but like, we are visual creatures. And if you just give me white words or black words on white paper, I'll just go read a fucking novel. You know what I mean? Like, this is a really easy way to elevate what you're doing. Add some colors, add, like, even these bars across the bottom break stuff up. This how to use the book page has art, but like these words are like tucked up in the middle. You know, there's just ways to elevate your layout and elevate the design without having a ton of art, even though this does have some good art in it as well. But anyway, so that's 17th Century Minimalist. Let's pop over the review for that. Let's hide these scores. Let's get rid of Acid Mages, and we'll pop up 17th Century Minimalist. So, all right, so 17th Century Minimalist, visuals, rule set, and vibes. For visuals, we decided on a 7 for all of the reasons that we just talked about. Great drawings, a lot of awesome spot art in it. The colors, as we said, really elevate it from just like a super plain layout. And the character sheets are great, so that's awesome. Rule set, we actually gave this one an 8. Because all those little subsets, that systems that we talked about, the armor, the Troika stack, whether you like that or not, but combat being deadlier, fight back, reputation that matters. It's just a great, fun, brutal little rule set. Really enjoyable to get into. And then for vibes, we gave this a 7. Because it's cool, it's great, it's neat, like intellectually it's really fun. You know, we've looked at other ones where you go through, like, every time I go through this, we're like, yeah, I want to play that. But it's not just like having an overwhelming urge, but it's a great fucking game, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
22?
Yeah.
It's math. 22.
It's one less than the last one, so.
That's what I was going to do, but I wanted to put it together anyway. So that is 17th Century Minimalist. So what are you doing next?
Next, we have a classic of my table, Bastards. We're doing the Pearlescent edition, which is the latest edition of Bastards.
All right, let me pull up. Bastards Pearlescent. Open up, you fucking. There we go.
Great.
No. There we go. Bastards Pearlescent. You
Bastards, the Pearlescent edition. So if you've heard this show, if you've listened to this show, it is no secret that I run a table that is a Bastards hex crawl, although we've been playing Mothership recently. And so I've played this game a ton. I think probably more than anything else we've reviewed, actually. It is definitely my... Wait, hold on. Is that true? Yeah, I think it is, actually. I mean, honestly, it must be because I've played so much of this now. This is like my go-to, like, dragon game. So Bastards by Micah Anderson. It is a incredibly rules-light, dungeon crawling, kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, D&D humor-esque, you know, like there's a very sarcastic nature in Micah's writing that really comes through strong in this game. But yeah, it's a 3-stat system, technically 4, because you have luck. It is a D20 roll under, which is by far my favorite dice mechanic. If you've also listened to this show, you will know that is my go-to. It's very easy to figure out, and you know, it works. But yeah, I think the way that classes are done in this is really interesting. Like, you roll for your HP and that determines your class. And if you want to like expand from that, you get to roll for your class as well under each individual AP. And it creates like this air of like randomness that I really appreciate in my like dungeon games. And now my table is really appreciated because it's like, you don't really know that guy just died. You don't know who you're going to play as next. And you have to figure out on the fly. I also like how lightweight it is because it's so hackable. Like, I've added stuff to the table. You know, where our friend Matt has a whole several things that he's added into his bastard games. The little rule sets that actually I've adopted as well. like even for my hex crawl, because the classes are so lightweight and so easy to make, like I made 36 individual classes for my own hex crawl, which took almost no time at all. It was mostly just like a style thing. Also, I really like how this looked. It's another really minimal one, and there's not any art in it, but it's got this beautiful like color. It's very like very super centered layout that is extremely clean all the way through. And the book itself is this little pocket book. In fact, I'll have my like massive, ridiculous bastards collection, but almost everything is also like this, and it's enjoyable to like have out and like have at the table. It's easy to reference. I do really, really like this game.
It's A6, right?
It is a 6.
Yeah.
Probably. I think it is
A6. Yeah, A6. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, that's Bastards. The Pearlescent edition is such a good. I mean, I love the original one, like especially like the layout and everything like that. This felt like a really solid, I guess upgrade because they added more content. But like, you know, I like the red and yellow of the other one. But even the background with like on the cover, how it does kind of have that like pearlescent-ish like blue to pink across it. And you know us here, this is a great color pink. You know,
we do like this color pink on this show.
We do like this color pink. So yeah, so that's Bastards. So what do you got going on for Bastards?
Like, you know, so Ryan and I kind of created like a pool of games that we needed to review, and we like drafted them, you know, like we went back and forth and like picked which ones. And it's funny because all the ones that I picked are very much in line with like, oh, that's the stuff I like, and they're all incredibly lightweight games. I'm like looking there, I'm like, oh yeah, I took all the lightest weight games, which is very funny. But I mean, it's all what I'm really into. So visuals. So, you know, we said that kind of black text and white background, like that's a very standard, right? This is a little bit elevated because it's got the pretty colors. It's got that really super centralized, super center layout that's very clean. And so this brings it up to about a 6. There's not any art in it. But it's supposed to be incredibly lightweight. Yeah.
I mean, it is pretty.
It's really, really pretty. It's hard because we're trying to be very honest with our scoring. And this one does not have any art in it. But
that doesn't really, here's the thing. It doesn't need to necessarily have, because visuals is art and layout. It doesn't need art if the layout speaks for itself. And honestly, you know, and I'm the one that argued before to go from 7 down to 6 on this, but I'd be totally okay going back up to 7 on this.
I would put this as a 7. I like looking at this game. It's so pretty. Like, I know it's like it's just words on paper, but damn it, it looks so good.
But I think you're right. I think
listen, if you were listening to this new design games, like, and you haven't looked through Bastards, go look at it, because we go through games all the time, and even we're like, there's no art and it's just layout and color, and we're just like, fuck, it's so pretty. I mean, it feels wrong to give it a 6. So I'm glad you ended up agreeing with me.
Here's the thing: is like it's because there's a specific style that is across all of the stuff that Micah does, and because like they could have easily just done 2-column black on white, and that's it, but they didn't. There's multiple font choices throughout. There's multiple color choices throughout. Again, that very central thing that you're talking about. I think this is a really good example of elevating Zine without a single piece of fucking art in it, in a way where you can read the whole thing and never miss it. Yeah,
like the first letters on paragraphs, like on a new page, is that like pink big letter. Like it just looks, it's great. So yeah. Rule set. So this is my favorite rules light game. I think it's easily one of the most hackable rules light games, and it's made to be hacked. I mean, it says it in the book. Michael's like, you know, this is not like, I believe in you, and I think it works really well for that. I think the way that Magic works is like very lightweight and very fun, and it's just it's an easy, fun game to run. Like creating characters, because of the randomness of it and how like much you can put like your own story onto your characters, works really well. So I think we ended up giving this a 7 for rules.
Yeah. Yep. That feels right to me. Yep. All right. What about them vibes, son?
In vibe. So this is just like, not just, but this is a dragon game. This is a dungeon game, right? It really brings that through. And that's really great. I think what actually really elevates the vibe of this is like kind of Micah's just sarcastic ass writing. You know, his like his kind of fuck you writing in some of it. You're like, actually, this works really well here. So for vibe, like with that and like kind of the color, the vibe is gonna be a 7. Hey Ryan, that's a 20, by the way, just so you know. Wait, no, it's not. It's 21. Sorry, I have it written down from when we put the visuals as a 6.
I counted ahead. I used all my fingers and toes.
Really ready on that. Yeah, 21. I think that's great for that.
Yeah, I think that fits correctly to what we're doing here. Yeah, so that's that. So that's bastards. So I'm going to look at what we're gonna do next. So we're gonna hide bastards, and then I'm gonna hop into this one right here, and it is gonna be.
Oh, this is a classic Ryan one. Yeah, there you
go. All right, Durf. I had the collected edition. This is Emil Bovin. We had them on the show. We've done Durf. We've done the Electrum Archive. But this is Durf. And I love the Electrum Archive, but there's something about Durf that just...
Yeah, you are a big Durf guy. See, it's funny because I'm an Electrum Archive guy. So...
Yeah. I just... You should sit down sometime and figure out why. But I think because that one leads a little more into like the magic weirdness.
Yeah, it's much more my like science fantasy, like weird desert punk.
We talked about that. It falls in the same kind of at least circle as like Varn and UVG and
Varn. Yeah. all the stuff that I love. Yeah.
And Durf falls into kind of more like the almost SRD-ish combat game, which is definitely more my wheelhouse. So this is motherfucking Durf from Emil Bovin. This is a D20 rollover 15. There is a target number for everything that you do with this. There is only 3 stats. 3 stats is my favorite. Anything over 4 is more than you need. Strength, Dex, and Will are the stats that you use. So some really fun, interesting things that are a little bit different with this system than with other systems. The hit dice and inventory slots. So you get 10 plus inventory. The supplies and belongings. I know now that that's also, I think Troika has the same thing where they have like the little bubbles that you can fill and do something similar. But basically supplies are a random thing that you just have with you as like a basic adventuring thing. So if you have just a supply, right, and you're like, man, I could really use a crowbar, you can say, oh, the supply is a crowbar. It always has been a crowbar, and you just mark off a supply, and now you have a crowbar. I love that. First time I read that, it made my little brain tickle, and I really liked it a lot. So that is a
great idea. I've definitely stolen that. I was looking for Durf. Here it is. I've definitely stolen that Durf and use it in everything now. So
good. It's so good. There's action rolls and saving throws. A lot of the things that you do are going to be opposed rolls in this. We'll talk about combat in a second for that. So one of the things that's interesting is that D20 roll over, right? But for advantage and disadvantage, instead of doing just plain advantage and disadvantage, you get what are called buffs and breaks. So that is basically a D6 or a number of D6s that you can add or subtract to your roll. So because, I mean, the thing about D20, and the reason I like 2D6 better all the time, is because 2D6 gives you like a trend,
Bell
you know
curve.
what I mean? Like a weight. Yeah, it's curved, it's weighted. And the good old D20 is 5% every time. But having that extra, the D20 plus the D6 on top of it is a great way to get closer to that 15 and go over, which is great. So I really like that buffs and breaks Gives you a little bit of a different tweak. I do like that it's D20 rollover, but has a specific target, makes it something feel a little bit different. Stress is something that's also really interesting too. There's a couple other games that do this kind of thing, but basically you can push your character, and if you do push your character, you can receive a buff, but that also gives you a point of stress, and the point of stress takes up an inventory slot so that you can carry less. Because you have the stress. And then combat is, I love this for the same reasons that we just recently talked about guild and or 17th century minimalist. So combat is all opposed rolls. So if you're doing melee, super. If you're doing a melee attack, you and the defending creature do opposed strength rolls, and the winner deals their weapon damage. In the case of an tie, the attacker wins. So you're never not possibly hitting people, right? Like if you try to hit someone, you could hit them or they could hit you, and if they try to hit you, you could hit them or they could hit you. It just depends on the roll. So again, really keeps the active attention on the table. And then ranged combat is great. So it's an opposed roll. The difference is that the person dodging has a dex roll versus the person shooting. And if the defender wins, they dodge a projectile, but they don't do any damage. So basically, you get to just not take damage, which is cool for you. But I love that. Crits are great. Weapons that wear down is fun. Morale is interesting. Damage and armor is fun. It's just a fun, interesting way to do things. Armor is points. It's not soak, so have fun with that. And then your armor breaking all the time, that's cool. And then I
do like that. Like depending on what we're doing, like I do like breakable armor, and you're like, oh shit, well, don't get hit again.
Well, yeah, especially because you have the inventory system, right, where stress takes up slots too. So there's that, like you're constantly going to be looking for armor in the dungeon, which is neat. And then hit dice and death I really like. So basically as you level up, you get more hit dice, which are D6s. So the way that works is each time a creature receives wounds, which is when they take, armor to them or damage to them, they roll their hit dice. Each hit dice is a D6. If the result is less than or equal to the wounds they have accumulated, the creature dies. So if you have 3 wounds and you have 1 hit dice, if you roll 3 or less, you're dead. Right? But if you have 3 wounds and you have 5 hit dice, it's literally impossible for you to die because the lowest you could possibly roll is a 5. So the more levels you get, the more hit dice you get, the harder it is to roll under, but still possible. Technically, if you have 5 wounds, even if you have 5d6, you could still die. So like, I think it's a really interesting way to exponentially reduce the risk of death, but have it always be present, which is really, really fun. Yeah, spellcasting is fun. Big lean into blunder tables. Really uses a lot of stress. They did put out another zine called Wizardry, which completely redid the spellcasting system. I still prefer the original. I do. You never read it?
I still haven't read it. We've talked about it so many times. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll read it like some other night.
Yeah,
I've been going through Blades in the Dark, so that's what I'm reading right now.
Yeah, well, that's coming up soon. So yeah, hirelings is a thing. There's some like NPCs and bad guys are cool. Magic items are great. And the optional rules with archetypes, I would of course use that every single time. Fighter, magic user, cleric, thief. Yeah. They're great. It just tweaks the way that you like what you get as a character and what you can carry with you. So that's Durf. I just love it. Something about it. Emil's art is great in it. The layout is, classic. And yeah, so hopping into the review for Durf. So visually, as we said before, it's black on white, 2 columns. I think this one, what elevates this a little bit beyond just a 5 is that it's got a lot of spot art in it.
It does,
and
totally.
And it's good. It's really good. Emil's art is really fantastic in it. The style that he uses throughout is really, really great. And the layout itself is really great. The use of bold, the use of bullet, the use of titles, subtitles, headers, and subheaders, and things like that. They did a really good job of breaking it up, so you're never really just reading a wall of text ever, which is one of the worst things you could do in that style of writing. So
we do hate a wall of text, especially like both of us are so like ADHD. It's just like a wall of text is a brutal experience.
Seriously, it makes it incredibly difficult to read, and when you break it up with bolds and bullets and stuff like that, it just makes it digestible, which is great. So that does elevate it a little, but once again, though, it is still just black text on a white background, which is fine. It is just slightly above average as far as that goes, so we're going to give that a 6. Rule set. For me, this is one of my. This is to your bastards. This is mine. I think this is probably one of, if not my favorite, rules light rule sets that I've gone over here. This was an easy 8.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot in this one that makes it a little bit more unique as well. There's a little bit more going on with this one. Like, I mean, honestly, for me, just provisions alone, I'm just like, I use that all the time now. You know, provisions. It's like, yeah, okay, perfect. Because I just, I love when my players do something clever when they get into a situation, but I hate like, they're not going to prep everything all the time. And this gives them the ability to be like, oh yeah, actually, my guy's got a crowbar. I'm like, oh, perfect. So
yeah, exactly. It's such a role. It's for that exact reason. It's a great way to reward players for ingenious ideas when they come up with something interesting they want to do, but they didn't have what they needed.
Yeah, totally.
Do. Yeah, you do.
I mean, and once again, reading Blades in the Dark, like you can give people flashback. I mean, people do flashbacks, and like that's is almost essentially the same thing in a different way,
Kind of, yeah. Like mechanically, it is the same way. This has always been this thing, Yeah. I didn't go over ammo, but this is one of my favorite ammo rules too. It's ammo is an abstract thing, but at the end of combat, you roll a d6 if you used a ranged weapon, and on the result of 1, you only have 1 shot left. You use it all up, and you just have that 1 left. I love it.
Love it. Yeah.
So that's an 8. And vibes, for me, this is an easy 7. I think that just the mechanics for me just like blow me away. Like every time I even see that even the fucking Durf logo you see right here with like the dagger and the D and shit. Every time I see that, I'm just like, oh, I want to play this fucking game. So that's gonna give us 6, 7, 8, which is the same as 7, 7, 7, which has got to be a 21, right?
Yes.
So Durf gets a 21 from
so
us
funny.
here.
It's like the
Basic
two.
Math.
Well, no, it's like the two like really stripped down rules light dungeon games, and it's like Durf is yours, Bash is mine, same exact score, like different order in which it's scored, but same score. So
yep. So that was Durf. What's your next one that you're going to be doing?
It's Primal Quest.
Ooh, Primal Quest, baby. So it's interesting that you chose this one because you didn't even review that with me.
I wasn't even on this episode. No, but this is a fucking cool game. It's funny because this is actually like, if I was asked, I would say that this is outside of like the genre in which I usually play in.
Oh, unquestionably. Yeah.
But I think it's really cool. So Primal Quest by Diego Nogueira is a weird stone and sorcery adventure game. And so it is like dinosaurs and people, or and sometimes and I think there's a hex crawl in here that kind of references it being like, future past or whatever, where it's like post great civilization and you're fucking cavemen with caveman magic. Well, me, I have caveman magic. Not everyone has to have magic. But I do. So I mean, right away, this is the most ridiculously good-looking zine that we're going to look at today. It is so beautiful. Even just the pages that have art, just like those red slashes across the page that break them up. Oh God, it's so good looking. So this is another. This is an interesting system. So this is a dice pool system. Which I love. You have positive dice and you have negative dice that kind of combat each other, and you're trying to make these tests to make things happen. And it has difficulty for each one. So 1 to 2 is considered hard. So right there, you're like, oh, okay, like that's considered hard, just getting 1 or 2 successes. And I really like this. I'm very interested in trying this out myself. This is on my short list of what to play. Unfortunately, so much Mothership stuff just dropped, and my table is a sci-fi. We love the movie Alien and Event Horizon table.
Yeah. Oh God, I want to play Event Horizon. Yeah. So I actually did get to play this game.
Yeah, you played this.
Yeah, Exalted, the Funeral Con that they had, I think 2 years ago when it was like the summer camp theme. I actually signed up for a playtest, and I got to actually play this game with Diego Noguera and with Christian Sorrell, and with another player. Yeah, just some guy whose name is in fucking everything.
I know, it's so funny. Their names everywhere.
Everywhere. And then actually, so that's why Christian came on the show to review this with me, because he was actually they were actually in that game with me, so we could both kind of talk about our experiences together playing that game when we did this. And we both had very similar experience where we were like, this game fucks really hard. Like, it's really, really good. It's such a fun, like, enjoyable, interactive game. Like, we should absolutely play this. So
you said that there was some kind of like, because of like the kind of like bartering nature of the positive dice, you all at the table were like, oh, don't forget about this, like don't forget about that. Like, it was very much like a group effort to like create a higher number of positive dice, right?
Well, the thing is, it's your positive dice minus your negative dice. So you roll a pool of positive dice and you roll a pool of negative dice, and then you subtract the negative from the positive, right? So like, if you have more, or like, it could always be worse or better, but then you also add your attributes. Like, having 1 or 2 be hard is because, like, if you think about rolling d6s and stuff like that, a lot of it averages out to roughly the same. So even just getting like a number 1 or a number 2, if you have 2 positive and 2 negative dice, it's a really small pool. But the size of the pool you can have versus the negatives you have is crazy. And like you just said, like I just said before, like, there is this extreme bargaining nature where everyone collaboratively is like, well, don't forget that you have this skill, and don't forget that you have that arrowhead, and don't forget that you have this. And you're like, oh yeah, do I get a positive die for that? Do I get a positive die for that? And it just kept everyone so engaged in the narrative. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. So another great game. It's a 3 stat game, 3 attributes, which I'm blanking on because I'm a dumb guy sometimes, and if I don't play something, it's hard to remember. That's body, mind, and heart, which also feel very appropriate for like a Stone Age game. Heart. But yeah, I really like how magic works in this as well. It's like, you have like a word tied to a focus essentially, and like, to collect more words, you have to collect more focus, and so you just feel like this very like classic, like wise woman, like elder man, like carrying all these bobs and like little pieces that do with own individual thing, and like bits and bobs is what I was trying to say, but words are hard and I'm sometimes dumb. And then I like the whole, like, depending on what kind of thing you're trying to cast, it affects the difficulty, whether it's just a cantrip with no actual effect. So then it's like a pretty easy one to cast versus like a miracle, which has several, what's miracle is like 4 negative dice are added to the test. The casting time is 6 hours to make like something truly extraordinary happen. Yeah, I thought this was really cool to read. And I really want to play this a lot.
Yeah. Well, friend of the show, Marco Serrano, recently dropped Fun Primal Quest.
That's so true. The butterfly. What's the name of it? I'm blanking. Why am I so? It's on my table. Don't make me go get it.
Butterfly dies, baby.
Yeah, butterfly dies. Really. Also, listen. I know we're going off topic a little bit, but that was a super cool little hex scroll. Really interesting. Yeah. Like a lot of cultural stuff. That I really appreciated. I had fun reading it. I got it in the mail a couple days ago. So I got I probably have yeah, look at that. I got yeah. Spicy tune forever. So Primal Quest, visually fantastic. Very fun mechanically game. And like I would say the vibe on this one pretty strong as well. So
Yep. I mean, so the graphic design from Guillermo del Toro, like this is one of those ones where you know it's them as soon as you see the style of it, you know it's them. And then
what else were we looking at recently that they did?
Fallen.
Yeah, another one.
Like 2 pages into that, you're like, this is Gontijo, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the illustrations, the illustrations from Fleet Faria, so fucking good, like just insanely fucking good. Yeah. So, what we got?
Okay, so ratings, visuals. So this is the peak visuals for a zine. You know, this is like this a strong 9. You know, it was just it's just a joy to look at and go through. It's nice, you know. It's nice to have. Like, look at this. It's an art zine. You know, it's not quite like a total art zine, but like for a zine, like it's pretty arty. You know.
So I'll say. So I personally think that Acid Mages is an art zine.
That's probably actually more true.
I think we gave Below Dwelling Sewer Mutants kind of that vibe too, because every page
that is also very true.
It wasn't even like a layout, because every page was done different with a different font and a different part of the page and stuff. To me, this is the peak possible thing that you can do with black on white 2 columns.
Maybe what I'm actually saying is like this zine is art, you know, like the artistry of zine making, you know, of tabletop zines.
The end pages in the zine, like the full page red and white, and then having like the red and white like layout all the way through with those like slashes in it. It doesn't get like, this is peak. This is exactly. Yeah. This is a zine.
I feel like it would be a 10 if it brought in some
I don't think that this in its current form could possibly be a 10. Like,
no, I don't think in its current form. No, that's what I'm saying. I think if it brought in more of like a zine, like art punk style to all of it, while still being incredibly readable, which we see very few of those.
That would be incredibly difficult. I think
would be a 10 for me.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it would have to be a completely different zine, basically, just like same vibe, but
rules, like it a lot. Really cool. Like this fighting nature of the positive and negatives, like, and like I think even for me, like I imagine like casting a miracle, like you go in knowing it's such a big negative, and so you're like, okay, how can I set myself up positively in this situation? Like, what can I do narratively to like give myself more positive dice? Like, you know, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on that I feel like would really feed like a narrative play. So I think rules are a strong 8.
Yep.
And then the vibes. Vibes are great on this. Vibes are very strong. Even going through the hex crawl that's in the back of which you should go through. It's most of the zine, honestly, because there's very few rules. The vibe continues very strong. Vibe's an 8. Another strong 8. So I mean that's pretty high. 25. You know, like really, it's the highest really one respectable.
Done. Yeah, it's the highest one that we've rated today, and I think it might be one of the higher ones. Yeah, I mean, it super fucking does. Yeah, great fun system, beautifully well done, like really nice production value. Like, not only that, when you actually get the physical zine too, and like there's the character sheet is insane, and the character sheet pad that comes with it is
the character sheet pad, where is it? It's in my living room as well. But yes, I also, hey, shout out all creators that give me a pad of character sheets, honestly.
Oh fuck yeah,
because thanks.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with that is that I just don't want to tear them off. I don't care if there's 50 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I do it.
That makes it difficult. Yeah. I'll just get 2 and then just never tear some off one. But that's yeah, so that was Primal Quest. So I'm gonna hop into my next one, and that's going to be this is gonna be a pretty small one. This is we've done a lot of disaster tourism lately, and we're gonna keep that going with Weird, WYRD Weird, from our buddy Kirby, at Disaster Tourism. So yeah, this is, let me open it up. So I don't know why this is doing this, and I don't like it. So this is Weird. Fit to with scrolling. Ultra rules light OSR sword and sorcerer game for 1 to 3 players. Game? Question mark? Kind of. Not really. Not really. It's not really. It's kind of. It's like. I feel like it has been described as a framework. And yeah. I would love to see this expanded out into an actual full game. I know that Guild used a lot of these principles to become Guild, but I think as is, this game could very easily just get like 5 pages added to it and become something that fucks super hard, and I would really love to see that. So this is Weird, rules light OSR sword and sorcerer game for 1 to 3 players. It literally is, like, as far as the rules go, like 2.5 pages, 3 pages maybe.
Love it.
Super easy. It is you have 3 stats. Basically, you have Vigor, Mind, and Power. There's some derived stats from that: Vitality, Encumbrance, spell slots, things like that. You get there's weapons that you can use. There's magic you can use. There's a specific way that armor works. You can see, if you have looked at Guild, how the weapons and then the damage that they do, the 1d2, 1d3, 1d6, 3d3 kind of thing. Like, you can see how that kind of turn into Guild, the slots and the way they were used, even the magic and the way that it was used. And combat's really interesting because it breaks your fucking brain a little bit. So attacking with a weapon, you roll d6 minus your power plus your armor, because when you look at armor, and this is one of my favorite ones, I love when systems do something a little bit different, and it makes you think a little bit, and it's really enjoyable. Armor protects you from hits in combat, but the heavier the armor, the easier you are to hit. So you have to actually add the modifier of your armor to your combat rolls, and that protection reduces the damage you take, but reduces how well you hit too. So you're rolling d6 minus power plus your armor against your enemy. So super fun. Same thing with Mind. That's how your rolls in general work. And that's pretty much the game. There is a section in the back here of for Renown and Disdain. I will say this is the weakest thing. This is definitely something that needed to be expounded on a little bit more. In like 17th century minimalist, I think just literally adding the reputation system from that onto this would fix it. Give a reason for it. Yeah. Because in this system, you randomly roll for whether you get renown or disdain, and whether people think you're infamous or famous. And I don't like the idea of like randomly rolling. Because what if I just like murder a kid and then I get like famous for it? You know what I mean?
Actually, it's funny because like in a very like gonzo ridiculous way, it's like, oh, we all fucking hated that kid. That kid was a menace to the town. You're a hero now.
Yeah. I mean, that's a thing. That's a choice. I just think that, you know, I think having the mechanical benefits are really helpful. So anyway, I Weird.
But thank God you killed that kid.
Right? Yeah, fuck that kid. Fuck them kids. But I just think that, again, it's not really a full game. It's a framework. I know there's other games that are using it to hack. I know that Gabe Rivera, who ran our side quest recently, did the Profane Weird, where they did take this and really run with it, which is great. So as a framework, I think this is fucking fantastic. As a game, it's kind of just not. You know what I mean? Like it's something that you can. It's almost in the same way that you could take Acid Mage's magic system and throw it into a game. You could almost take this combat system and kind of throw it into a game. Yeah. Because that's all it really is just a combat system. It's not a full game. So the review. All right. So when we go down, what did I give this? So we gave this a 5 for a layout because Basically, my notes say the most OSR looking zine ever. It's it's black and white, woodcut, like, you know, public domain art with a kind of black letter logo on it. You can't really make something that's more OSR looking than that. So I mean, it's just black on white and white on black with public domain art.
I'm looking at your notes. I'm like, oh, it literally does say that.
Yeah, and I love the art that shows, and I think it's actually really consistent. I think the style, even though it's clearly through different people, I think is really well done through. I think that the kind of like gray overtone that's put over the whole thing is great, but it's pretty basic. I mean, it's just is what it is, and that's fine. For the rule set, although I do really love it, it's not a full rule set. It's basically just a combat system. So just giving that a 6. Like I said, I would love to see this expanded out into a full game. And I think I would love the fuck out of that game. But it's just not a full game right now. And as for vibes, for the same reasons, we also gave this a 6, because it's just not really a game. It's pretty much just a combat system.
Right.
So that is what's that, a 17? But again, I think that's, again, mostly because it's not a whole game. It's pretty much just a combat system. It feels like one system in a game that requires like 2 to 3 systems to be a whole game, you know, although it is really good for what it is. And that's weird. What do you got next?
I have a little game, you know, just a little one called Liminal Horror.
Liminal Horror. No.
No, there's no S. Yeah, I don't know why I wrote an S on my notes, because there's not an S in it. So yeah, Liminal Horror, a great little horrific Karen hack. So
is there, let's just say real quick, do you think that there is a more easily identifiable and vibey cover in all of indie zines right now?
This is it. This is it.
Fucking Zach Hazard, like,
yeah.
Anything with eyes now. This zine made me think of this zine as opposed to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood when I see eyes in the dark. That's what this art did.
Crazy thing to say. So
yeah.
So Liminal Horror by Goblin Archives. It is a great like horror investigatory adventure game. It is a Karen hack, and it's very Karen-y, especially if you open them up next to each other.
Layout wise, yeah, it's basically the same.
Layout wise, I think so. This is a D20. It's the best dice mechanic, obviously.
D20 roll under.
Yeah, D20 roll under.
D20 dice mechanic.
Best D20 dice mechanic. Best dice mechanic. I really enjoy this, and I think I played this on our stream actually.
When we did the crossover special, you got to do Liminal Horror, and I did
the crossover special. Yeah, I actually got to play this, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's a very straightforward D20 roll under. I think where this game specifically shines for me the most is in the Fallout system. I think like a big complaint that we all rightly have about other like maybe horror games is that they use like mental illness as like a form of punishment for failure. I'm not talking about just the Cthulhu game, but also really that one. And this one instead like gives you these like narrative like things like as fallout from dealing with the weirdness and that kind of like eldritch horror that you'll come across in this game. But yeah, D20 roll under, 1d6 hit protection, a really great game. It also uses armor as a protection from health, and then I think stability is the protection of your brain. You know, of your how stable your character remains while facing the terrors and horrors that they're coming across. Going through this, I do like the art that's throughout the book. Like it's public domain, like kind of like spot art, but it is very cool. It does like really reinforce this vibe. And then like the connections and like getting to know your characters and like the group, I really appreciate that part as well for like kind of narratively building up your party of buddies. But I mean the Fallout's so good. Like the stress and Fallout table, like a door appears in your mind if not yet open, you know, or like you gain the memories of a past life. Like the ability to narratively build on that moving forward, I think is like my favorite part about that. No, I think that is my in fact favorite part about this. Like I will steal that moving forward at any time it's appropriate to be like, yeah, the fallout from like dealing with weird shit or like horrors or magic or whatever is that you just get weirder, you know. You gain another sense, a psychic sense, you know, you gain magic. I don't know. It's very cool.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not like, oh, you suddenly have OCD. Like,
yeah, like that's bullshit. That shit's super fucking ableist and like just fucking some toxic bullshit. And it's nice to have somebody be like, oh, this is better. What's up?
But here's the thing: not only is it ableist, it's not good. Like it's just
it's just not good. It's fun. Like, it's lazy. You know, and this is like, this is so much better because like, yeah, okay, yeah, you gain a mental disorder and now your character acts like that forever. It's like, no, this one's different. This one's like, yeah, you suddenly can see a few seconds into the future, or you dream of your own death one day. You know, it's like something weird that gives you the ability to like, oh, well, my character knows when they're gonna die. You know, I don't know. There's just more to do with it. You can do more with it.
It's way more open narratively to not only more to do with it, but also like better interpretations, because what someone does with that door in their mind is completely different. But if, like I said, if you go, oh, you have OCD, it's like, well, okay, well, now I just get to be like, what, like picky about stuff? Like, how am I going to, like, what TV version of OCD am I going to go for?
Yeah, I know. How do I do that without being incredibly disrespectful? You know,
or
like,
just be disrespectful, which it just leaves too many doors for. So yeah, sucks.
Yeah, I'm a surgeon. Yeah. So I really I enjoyed playing this game. I enjoyed like the investigatory nature of it. And like the like emphasis on like, hey, like combat's not like a great thing. And hey, like magic will just make you weird. Yeah, very, very cool. It's more than a Karen hack. I wasn't saying that as like, this is just like, it's more than that, but it is also that.
Yeah, I mean, it carries into the odd hack too, so it's just like it's part of that tree.
So we've all circled back to my favorite base game, Into the Odd. Yeah, all right, very cool. So for visuals, so this is black text on a white background, and it's broken up well, and it's nice and organized. It is Karen, and it does have some cool public domain spot art, and that's really cool. I mean, the cover is like really the out of this world art piece. It is really very good. But for visuals of this one, we're gonna go with a 6. I mean, I'm looking forward to their next edition of this, and I hope I'm sure they will move towards like its own like layout and style to where it doesn't look like Karen. Because I think everyone who's played this and picked up is like, oh, I really love this. And there's a ton of stuff for it now too. There's a ton of modules and like,
such good stuff. And Josh Demansky really working like hopping in with Nick with Goblin Archives to really expand from like not from the Bureau on and like the Bloom coming out and everything like that. I mean, the thing that
God, the Bureau is so fucking cool too.
You know the rules. No, what's up?
Yeah. I was just saying the Bureau is such a cool one. Like it's got that like very artifact. You pick it up and you're like, oh, this is like, it's very cool. So
see, the Bureau makes me dislike this. It makes me so disappointed in this because like we know the game, we see the cover, and then you open it up inside, and to me like inside is just so visually disappointing for the layout and stuff. Like if they go towards the Bureau, like just not even that exact style, but like that vibe for like the 2E version or 1E or whatever they're gonna call it, this game is gonna fuck so fucking hard. Like I can't totally wait for it. Yeah. All right, 6.
Cool.
Rule set.
Rules. So rules. So it is a Karen hack, and it's a great use of like Karen into the odd. We didn't quite go over it. We just kind of moved through it, but the magic, like the kind of like a combination of like how you make the magic and like the like spell formula is really, really cool, and you can make some very, very unique stuff with it. And the fallout is really great. I think that this is a good 8, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I think at its core, it is Kane, which means at its core, it is into the odd. But like this to me is this is how to hack a game. This is how to take the bones of a game and really turn it into something else. Because like the way that this went from, you know, kind of like of like a fantasy game into the paranormal kind of investigatory thing.
Paranormal weird magic. Like,
yeah. And we didn't touch on it really. We touched on the stress and fallout a lot, which is a huge part of the game. But the way that the adventures work, built around like their doom clock, I think
See, I always genuinely, I actually forget about the doom clock. But yeah, that is a very cool part as well.
Yeah. I really think that the rules for 2E need to have better rules for emphasis on that, because where you really see the doom clock a lot is in like the like an example adventure. But like if they actually really expand on that a little bit more in the rules itself, I think it'd be better. But
I feel like when we reviewed it, we said a very similar thing, didn't we? Like the doom clock was just like it'd be cool to have its own section.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I'm gonna say we definitely noticed that and saw that and did that. But yeah, I think an easy 8 for this one, and I think that if they tweak it a little bit, and you know, I don't know what more you can do with the rules. I think they're fucking good, so I'm excited to see if they tweak them.
I don't think anything else needs to be tweaked on the rules too hard. Like I think this is good the way it is. But yeah, to have its own individual like style would be really cool. And then vibes. Where's my notes? There we go. Yeah, I think the vibes are really strong. I think they can be a little bit more reinforced by how the scene's put together. So I think this one's a good 7.
Yep. I think, like I said, like the Bureau is for liminal horror, and as a zine, the Bureau is an exponentially better zine than this zine is. But that, like, I feel like it's because, I mean, this is like, I think the first thing that like Goblin Archives really did, right? Like it really did start as a Karen hack and became its own thing. Like there's a reason it looks like this, and there's a reason that like second edition is not going to look like this. You know what I mean? So like if this was my first game that I'd put out, like I would be
so happy if this is my first game I put out was this. Like I'd be like, okay, like yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then to have the option and opportunity to expand on it and go forward with it in the future into like a box set, or to be able to like now know all the people that they know and everything, and get like, you know, I assume like the layout that it's gonna have, like yeah. I mean, I think this is great for this, and I'm super excited to see what the next version looks like, because this score I feel would be extremely different.
I agree.
Yeah. So nice. That
21. Can you do something for me?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So that was Liminal Horror. So I'm gonna hop into my next one, and that is 3, 2, 1 action. 3, 2, 1 action. So let me pull that up over here. So delete some of these, and we'll hop over to the game read through. 3, 2, 1 action. This is from Gio Colasso and John McGuire. Some call him Hambone. Ahoy! So 3, 2, 1 action. It's all about the game and how you play it, says Lemmy. I do believe Lemmy is this, like, I think they named this like lake monster situation thing here, this blue lagoon thing that's throughout the book. Lemmy, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm making that up.
You mean Black Lagoon thing, or
sure, Yeah, that thing. So 3-2-1 action is an interesting little rule set. I actually really enjoy this as a beginner game. I think this is a really good interesting game for people that have never played a game before. It at its core, it is a D10 system. You have 6 stats plus luck. There is a 3-2-1 mechanic for challenges. So let's look at that real quick. So really, the game is built around the concept of like 3-2-1 action, and it leans heavy into like action movie tropes and things like that, which is fine. I think for what it is, that's interesting. The way the system works, I think, is really clever. So basically, you have 6 stats. They range from 2 to 9, and you roll a D10 to accomplish a task, right? The character stat being challenged must be met or rolled under to complete the task. So you have to roll under your stat on a D10, but the challenges are a light challenge is a 1, a medium challenge is a 2, and a hard challenge is a 3, and that gets added to your roll. So the more difficult the challenge is, you add up. You have to roll under, or vice versa. It gets, you know what I'm saying? Right. The lower the roll, the better the outcome. Yeah. So most characters can accomplish simple tasks very easily. But yeah, always remember the basic rule: 3-2-1. We'll get into the individual stats. Yeah. That's how it works. So that's neat. I think that's really interesting. It really keeps the numbers in a tight window. And I think it's a different kind of mechanic than a lot of what we're going on to. A D10 roll under stat that like adds difficulty based on the difficulty of the task. It's neat. It's interesting, and it works. I think it's really cool.
It's also easy math. Like if you do want percent that in your head, it's like, okay, well, this is 30% harder, or it's 20% harder, or it's 10% harder. You know, like I like it when it looks like that. You know,
metric baby.
Like so.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, and like that's I don't know why that never pops into my head that way, to go, oh yeah, 10%, 100%, D10 rolls, you know, or D percentage rolls. There's some other cool things in it, like fill the plot in 2 sentences. I think is a fun little mechanic that really gives a narrative reason for some mechanics, which is fun. So basically, the concept is like, you're running away and there's a motorcycle and you pick it up and you ride the motorcycle, and it's like, okay, I'll let you do that, but tell me how the fuck you know how to ride a motorcycle. And it's like, oh, well, my stepdad taught me how to ride a dirt bike when I was a kid, right? So that's a cool way to do it. I'm not going to get into turn order. That's fun. Combat is interesting because the weapons and things you use really determine a lot of things. So it determines the damage you do, but also determines the distance you can travel with that weapon. So the less or more distance you have, the less more damage you can do. So if it deals more damage, you can't move as far with it, so it kind of balances itself a little bit.
Heavier weapon weighs more, you're a little bit slower with it, right?
Yeah. Cool. And then attacks always hit, but everything is like negatives. So if you roll like 0 or less, you just didn't do any damage. So like it always hits in the sense that there's no to hit roll. You just always roll damage, but you might miss in that your damage does 0. So that's really interesting. It's not a separate roll. You're rolling damage and everything all in one go. So that's kind of fun. And then yeah, exactly. And then luck points is cool because that's basically, there's no health. All you have is luck, and you can use your luck to like push your luck. You can use it to choose to succeed at rolls. You can use it to add stuff to whatever, but like once your luck hits 0, you're just fucking dead. So like if you're the kind of person who wants to hoard it, cool, but if you're the kind of person who wants to just spend it willy-nilly and just be crazy, you can do that. And if you even want to kill yourself by going down to 0 because you want to do some cool badass thing, you can decide how you want to go out. That's fun. It's interesting. It's neat. So yeah, that's really how it works. You know, that's the minimums there. So let's hop into the review. So what did I say for this? For visuals, I think we've said this a bunch of times now. It is black on white. There is some cool spot art, which is really fun. The Black Lagoon creature situation there is neat. But outside of that, You know, it's a 6. You know, it's some spot art on black and white. Rule set, I do like it. I think it's a good beginner rule set. Like we said, there's some fun narrative ways that encourages you to think about not just the mechanics of the game. I think that the math is really easy. I think it is a really neat, interesting mechanic. I think a 7 for this feels right. You know, the rules don't blow me away, but I think they're fun and simple. So like I said, I think as a beginner rule set, this is really, really fantastic. Vibes for me, this is a 6. I think the zine itself, you know, the art is neat in it. But outside of that, like, I'm just, action movie games aren't really my thing. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't think action movie games are really my thing, either. So
do you think 6?
I could have given vibes on this one a 5.
Yeah, let's give it a 5.
It's fine. It's fine. You know,
it's fine. Like, yeah, like I think this is fun and interesting to talk about mechanically, and I think it's got some cool things. But like, after I finish reading it, do I really want to play it? I mean, I would use it to teach other people how to play a game, but I don't know if I would sit down and really run this game. So that is a number. That equals,
sorry, I was not even paying attention.
So that's gonna be 18. And that's fine. Again, like, this is kind of,
I think if you have a group of new players and you want to start teaching them about tabletop games and like the narrative end of it, this is a great one to start with.
Yeah. You know, also the other thing about 3-2-1 action is that this is the core, the basic rulebook. There are adventures that use this that are much more vibey, much more interesting. Right. And they have like 3-2-1 horror is out, 3-2-1 fantasy is coming out. There's ways that the system is used in books that are just generally like better books. Like, we were to go over
the Children of Uma something like that.
Yeah. That's one. That would be a whole different version for the visuals and the vibes and stuff like that. Like, you know, I just think this and it's kind of like, you know, SRD-ish thing is what, you know, it is supposed to just be super basic. These rules are free online. You can go buy it right now. You know, it is what it is. You don't even need to buy it. It's free. So that's 3-2-1 action. What do you got? What's next?
I got Clean Spirits.
Ooh.
I know. A really great game that I don't have a physical copy of.
I think they just released physical copies, right? I think Neva Cups.
Oh, I would get I would genuinely get this.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through it, and this is very much outside of like the weird OSR MSR scene that we're normally like interacting with and a part of. But Clean Spirit, I think, is a great game. But kind of in the way that we talked about Acid Mages earlier. It's definitely like you could do a standalone game that's just a Clean Spirit session, you know, if you have that type of table and like they think that would be fun. So Clean Spirit is basically a narrative game about a group of people cleaning a space. And like, while that might sound kind of simple or like odd, like explain like that, like I think there is like the potential for emotional depth in this game that we don't reach a lot of the time in like a dungeon game. Go ahead. What are you gonna say? Come on, say it.
No, I was gonna say, like, even when we had Cassie on the show, wonderful human being, by the way. Go check out all their stuff.
I would seriously. That was one of the people we've had on the show that I'm like, I would give anything to play at their game table, because listening to them talk about it, I'm like, I know they're kick-ass like GM, you know?
Oh yeah, 100. I feel like we both read this. We both got together, and then while reading it together, we went down a rabbit hole of like, man, this could get fucked. Like, really.
I think that you could make people cry with this. You know, like very easily. Like, I think there's like the example of like, oh, cleaning up space is like a positive thing. But like, you know, I was really working on the game I haven't worked on in a really long time, honestly, my Space Wizards game, and like how to get characters to buy in more, and like having them be like, they're coming back to their hometown and it's destroyed and they're like cleaning it up. But yeah, so the game gives you a lot of narrative tools. It gives you like motivation tokens, and then like goals. Like each player has goals, and then they have group goals, and they spend these like motivation tokens to achieve bigger like group goals, and then they do their own personal stuff to gain back motivation tokens. And the game gives you a lot of good examples and ideas for like what to do, how to set things up, kind of the things that you'll need along the way, like creating a map, describing scenes, like if two players are doing something together, like having them build this scene together. I really like this. I think it's emotionally deep, in a way that I think sometimes we refer to like Adam Vast games as like emotionally deep, you know? But I don't think this is a standalone game. Like, I really think, like, obviously you can play it like that, but I really think this is you are playing with your table and you want to add some depth and some buy-in to their characters. You put this in there, give them a scene where something is destroyed, or they're setting up their new headquarters, you know, and they're cleaning out this like old decaying ruin as their new headquarters, to add like a little bit more depth to their characters and their like buy into the world that they're in. This game fucks.
Yeah, like so good. Like I think I brought this up a bunch of times, and I still don't think you've ever played Microscope, right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, this feels very Microscope in that the sense that like a lot of people, like I've used Microscope to build a setting with people and then play the game in the setting that you build with Microscope. That's what Microscope gives you, like epics down to like individual moments, and like it, and this feels like that. And I think what you said is, so you could just have fun playing a game of Microscope and building a setting, but using that setting to then play is great. This, exactly how you just said, would, like, you could do this on your own, but using it as a downtime activity in a game you're playing, I think would be, in my opinion, the ideal way to do this. And it's just great. And like we said, like, you know, there are things that we get to later where you get to these like really demanding events, and the examples that Cassie put into it, you're just like, my God, like, fuck, like that, you know, this kind of feels like, it kind of feels like if you go for a shiatsu massage and you just start to cry and you don't really know why, but like it just hurts and it's releasing stuff inside you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just, it feels like that. This game, I really enjoyed reading it, and then, as I said before, like when you and I were going over it together, I feel like I enjoyed it like 10 times more because we just realized how much depth you could really put into it.
I know you really could. You could add a lot, and I love the lighthearted nature of my table, but I like when, like, recently, especially, like we've had a lot of them, like a lot of buy-in to our characters, and I like giving them the motivation or the ability to do that, you know. And this is a great tool for that. Also,
I would also use this to really hurt people emotionally.
Oh,
like I would use this like a weapon.
Totally. Yeah. I would 100% weaponize this to cause anger towards a bad person or an enemy entity.
With consent at the table.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. But they consent to my mental torture all the time.
Perfect.
But I will say that also, this is a beautiful book.
Oh my God.
It is so beautiful. It's got these tabs along the side that I only have the digital version, but like you can click the tabs and it takes you to the section. And it's great. It works so well. It's got like sticky notes and like taped notes across it. Everything's very readable. It's broken up. There are several fonts, but they don't feel really inconsistent. They feel consistent. They are where you feel like they should be. Great. This is a great zine, and I would like to get a physical copy, actually.
Like I said, I think Knave of Shops is carrying it right now. Or Knave of Cups.
Knave of Cups?
Yeah.
Let's just look real quick. I mean, we're doing this, but I can do both things.
I mean, like, I'm pretty positive that our friends over at the Knave shop is carrying it.
Yeah, but I'm they are carrying it. Oh my God. Also, I love Knave of Cups. I've been watching a lot of their stuff recently, or watching their shop recently. So Clean Spirits, high level of recommendation for this. Especially, I think especially if you play like longer term tables, where you're like playing one game consistently for a while. Very much recommend.
I think it's a great way to break stuff up.
Yeah.
Reinvigorate, you know?
Okay. So I got to pull up my notes. Sorry, I was actually looking at the book. Yeah. So visuals. This is beautiful. There's not a lot of like actual like art pieces, but it's very artfully done. You know, it very much has like this scrapbooky kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
In a good
it's like
way.
Scrapbook planner. Yeah.
Yes. Scrapbook planner, very organized, like clean looking. So visuals a strong 8 for this, you know? Big bicep 8, you know? Not my biceps, but someone's biceps. And then rules. So this is kind of like a mini game or a cutaway, but the rules work incredibly well in the context of like this thing. You know, I think the rules of this are another strong 7. I think that the token gives you a little bit of interaction. And I had some ideas for how to expand it, and I have it written somewhere from like after our original episode. I don't know where it is, but great. And then vibes. Again, very strong vibes on this one. Definitely an 8. Love this. Love what this could bring to the table. Honestly, I think very highly of Cassie for creating something like this because it shows like a deep level of like understanding of like breaking up the time in tabletop games and giving them something else to do that's like equally as like profound, but maybe not in the statistics kind of way, you know?
Yeah. And also Cassie is like, if you see Cassie when she streams on Twitch or whatever, she just seems like such like this like fun, bubbly, you know, lady, right? Girl.
Right.
And then you watch like her Wretched video that she did with like the alien coming in, or you read this game and how fucking dark and heavy it can get, or the fucking sticker game, and you just go, holy shit, like what the fuck? That's a whole lot of like,
why are you trying to make me cry, dude?
Right? So yeah, just a wonderful person, award-winning, just great. I highly recommend everything that Cassie does. I think
Carve the Garden project.
Tangled Blessings.
What's that?
Tangled Blessings. It was like the dark academia kind of like Harry Potter, but not turf bullshit kind of thing.
Yeah, shout out Cassie. That was a cool one.
Yeah. Carved in the Garden, I think is if not still on Kickstarter, another one to check out very soon. And the Groat Man. Yeah, so that is Clean Spirit. What do I have next? We're I think we're getting towards the end, aren't we?
I have 2 left after this, so.
Oh, I have this one and like 3 more. Fuck, man.
How did we mess this up? Why do you have so much?
I think you gave me like 2 extra at the end or some shit. I don't know. I have this one and 3 more.
All right, well.
All right. Well, anyway, so the next one that we're gonna do is Fallen. I think I took this one because we thought about doing it as a full review, and then we decided not to. Yeah, Fallen from the homie PR.
Dude,
Flexing Ruins.
Everything PR touches, I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Oh my god, dude, the Tomb edition of Ward. I can't wait till that's officially done. The new layout looks fantastic, by the way. So Fallen ebook, compressed, open. We're gonna jump over to Fallen.
Doing great.
Let's go to
narrate
fit.
all of our actions. Inhale, exhale, scratch head.
Boom, Fallen, PR. This is a Baroque Grand Fantasy tabletop RPG with another cover that fucking slaps.
This cover is disgusting how good it is.
Could it be from the same creator as the one from Liminal Horror? Yes, it could be. Really fantastic. Yeah, Zach, killing it. So Fallen, as we said, this is from PR. This is a great fucking game. This is Baroque Grim Fantasy Tabletop RPG. Zach Valpin Hazard with the cover. And then this is what we said before. Like, even if you didn't see that, like three scrolls in, you're just like, oh, that. I think when we were reviewing it again, I was like, this layout, is that a Guntio? And we were like, oh yeah, there it is. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. So what the fuck is Fallen? Fallen is a 2d6 mixed success system with 4 stats. But there's a heavy emphasis on the use of usage die throughout this game. So harm and wounds and rank and everything comes down to usage die. And what does that mean? So there are 4 stats: strength, focus, agility, and will. You have 4 abilities, and you assign a 0, 1, 2, or 3 to those abilities. And then that determines your rank, right? You have this rank system. So you start with R6, rank 6, right? And that means that you have a 6-sided die, right? So when a character sustains a wound, right, you reduce the rank by 1 step, right? But you can also receive harm, okay? So example, let's do a quick example because this is the core of the game. So an R6 PC takes 3 harm, which means they remove 3 pips from their rank. So a 6-sided die has 3 dots on it. Those dots are called pips. So you have 6 pips on your side, right? That leaves you with 3 pips of health remaining in the current rank. Should the PC suffer 3 or more additional harm, right, that is a wound, right? You then reduce your rank, the die that you have, down to a D4, right? After that, you're just dead. But the ranks can go all the way up to 20, right? So 20 to 12 to 10 to 8 to 6 to 4, basically your health is usage die, and that is kind of the core of the whole thing. And yeah, there's also luck, which your modifier D6s are also your luck dice, so you may choose to roll any of those at any time with your 2d6 to increase the results. But once you do, they are burned. And then how to play the game. Basically, it's you roll 2d6 plus relevant ability score or skill level. My favorite, and in my opinion, the best system is a 2d6 mixed success, however you want to do that. So the difference, though, with this, especially in combat, is on a 10 or higher, you have a success, right? On a 7 or 9, there's a complication. When you do go into violence, right? So to hit, it's melee plus strength. For range, it's melee plus focus. Success deals 1 wound, and a complication deals weapon harm, right? And a miss is a -1 to the next initiative check. So basically, if you succeed on your hit 10 plus, the usage die of the bad guy automatically just turns a whole thing down. It ranks down, right?
It's so
if not,
interesting,
right? If on a complication, instead you just do weapon harm, which could just be like 2 or 3. So if they have a D6, you just knock off 2 or 3 pips, right? And then, but if you miss entirely, you get a -1 on your next initiative check because there's initiative at the top of every round. And then on defense, it's similar. You roll to evade. On a success, you parry the attack and actually deal harm. On a complication, you take the foe's harm. And on a miss on your defense roll, you take a full wound, which means you rank down. And then there's armor value that jumps into it as well. But it's really interesting the way that mixed success and the usage die system really all plays into itself. Not in mixed success in the way that it's just kind of like it's not the concept of like GM just gets an action. There are specific consequences to it, which is an interesting way to do mixed success. You can just give specific consequences. Makes it a little bit easier for people when it's so wide open. Like I like it. Sometimes it can be difficult to get used to. I mean, it was for me. But yeah,
I think it always is. I think there's adjustment period to that like style, you know?
Yeah, well, you get that you have to overcome like that kind of choice paralysis where it's like I can fucking do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and then a lot of other stuff comes down to usage die, inventory, consumable items, gear depletion, equipment, everything is usage die, and then some interesting mechanics that are totally different. So dueling, we talked to PR about this on the show. Dueling is something that's completely different. It's not the same as the rest of combat because this is specific to this. So it's blade and or fist dueling. And you actually just roll, combatants roll D4 plus will, or half their rank. And this gives duelists their life points. And before a duel takes place, you determine if it's to the death or an honorable action. And then each round, you declare your intention and you basically roll against each other. So it's a completely different mechanic that's super fun.
It's a mini game. It's a fucking mini game. Like
it is a mini game. I would duel the fuck out of everybody.
Oh my god. This I love Fallen. I think that this is a great game. I really genuinely enjoy it. But dueling, like the dueling mini game, is it's so good. Especially the firearms one. I think is my favorite because it's just like you know it's very good.
Because if you hit, you're basically fucking dead. So like it
feels
like dueling.
It's like a duel with firearms. You can both fire and you can both miss, or you can one can fire and hit, the other one hit. The person who fires second can still hit. It's a very functional, like real world duel, you know?
Yeah. It's just really, really well done. It's super smart from PR to do it that way.
Yeah, shout out PR, honestly.
Right. So there are skills. You get to put points in skills, and skills get better and stuff. You can take something like Creature Mind. So natural creatures sense something in you, which makes them curious. And then there are success, complication, misses, and companions. For the success, complication, and miss when you're trying to roll with those things. If you do want to take magic in this, magic's not innate. You actually take it as a skill. So that's incantation, spellcasting, arcana, and the occult. And if you do, then that becomes its own system in and of itself. For incantations, there's light and dark. There's success, there's complications, there's healing, there's pamphlets, there's curses. I mean, the magic system in this is so interesting because of the way you put together your words and your spells and your light and your dark. Super fun. Advancement, once again, it's more like it's like usage die going up. There is a section here about travel and even adventures. And the adventures, I love the way that exploration is a skill that you can take, and you actually roll to decide how you move forward on your point crawls and stuff. It's just really, really well done beginning to end. And then when you get to the back, the entire bestiary in the back is so great. PR's art all the way through the blood sack moth and everything, and the things that you can do with initiative and the skills that they can have throughout. It's just so much fun. It's so interesting, and it really keeps that kind of like weird Baroque. This feels like, I think we talked about this before, it's the same vibe kind of as 17th century minimalist, but if there was magic, you know what I mean?
I don't know if I feel like 17th century minimalist is as Baroque specifically.
No. I'm just saying in like the history, like
time period, historical, very like
right, and not just like Western fucking Tolkien-esque fantasy. You know what I mean? Like tricorner hats, and fucking witches in a bog. You know what I mean? Like it's really great. So, cutting back to the review for Fallen, let's cruise this one a little bit. So layout, gave this one a solid 8. I think that the art really well done throughout. Gunteal's layout really cool throughout. Great use of black and white and black on white and white on black. It's just really well done. And the public domain art and stuff throughout is also killer. And that cover, I mean, come on,
fucking cover, yeah.
Rule set on this, we gave this one a solid 8. For all the reasons we just talked about. Every system is really cool. Like the core system, usage die being such like an innate part of the entire system is really fun and interesting and different, which is really cool. And I mean, dueling, incantations, everything. It's it
was interesting talking to PR about this because PR is mostly a solo TTRPG player, and like this game is so good. Like it works so well for a group game. I mean, there are solo rules for this game. I just like, for someone who's like, I mainly play solo games. I'm like, well, this is a great group game that you wrote, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is definitely a game that I want to play. We should definitely have on side quests.
100%. I really do want to play this like very badly. And it's funny because it's like on my list of games to play, and every time we read it, I'm like, oh yeah, wait, hold on, I want to play this.
That's why we're doing side quests. For those that don't know, we have started side quests. We'll talk about it at the end. 887, that gives us a 23. It's interesting because we're hitting 23 a couple of times, but I feel like it's very different. It's like 6s and 8s versus 8s, 8 and 7 stuff. It's is that 23? 8, 9, 16, 20? Yeah, 23. So Fallen with the 23. So what do you got next?
We're doing Empty Cycle.
Boom. Empty Cycle. All right.
Which I don't know where my physical copy is, to be quite honest with you. It's somewhere. But I also started. Go ahead.
I have like 4 of them.
Why?
Because I would always get the code for all the POD codes, so I'd get like the sawback and the hardback special, and like, you know what I mean? So
free.
No, we got pay.
Yeah. So empty cycle. Let me pull it up on my screen as well. I don't know why I'm not ready. I'm the one reading empty cycle. Beautiful. Empty cycle is everything that comes out of Rookie Jet is a massive callback to my childhood. So Empty Cycle by Rookie Jet Studio, which it's Cody Burns doing the writing. Corey Burns. Gene Verne doing the layout. And let me tell you that I love this game. I love everything that's come out of Rookie Jet. So this is a game about, it's a very, very like RP heavy game about a person and like the kind of like other entity living with them and inside of them that they is called their parasite. This is based on there are several animes in here, but a big one that me and Corey were actually talking about on Discord after we reviewed this is called D and Angel, and no one's ever fucking read it except me and Corey apparently. But yeah, so you're playing this game and you're role playing 2 characters that are kind of being hunted down by like partially a government organization and also these otherworldly entities that your parasite is kind of fleeing from. It uses like Rookie Jet's very standard for Rookie Jet, but definitely not standard dice mechanic where you assign a dice size to a stat and then you combine 2 stats for specific like actions or great like other stats themselves. So the game is beautiful all the way through. It's got this red background with white text, this really great character art. There's only like 3 or 4 pieces of character art, but they're repeated really well. They're kind of used as like page headers or enders and then full pages. And so it doesn't really feel stale. It's very, very much recycled. I think the biggest thing about this game that going through it is like the duality of playing 2 characters. You're playing these 2 characters that are trying to get along but feel differently about different things. Your parasite is the like being created like that is attached to you. Each parasite has a type. This is also another Rookie Jet thing. They assign these types, right? So you'll have like a psychic type, the zeta type, the epsilon type, and it determines how they work and how their stats combine to create whatever die that they use. Very interesting mechanic. What's that look, Ryan? You got something to say?
No, I'm listening. It's interesting.
Yeah. This is a really, really unique and interesting RP heavy game. And this is definitely not a combat game. There is combat in it, but it's said that you like most time like want to avoid it. And the combat's only really going to come up when the other like entities pop up. They're called guardian angels. What's up? And the Reapers. Yeah, the Reapers send guardian angels down. There's a lot of like nomenclature. You really have to read it. There's a very implied lore in this game running through it. But yeah, like I'm really interested in playing 2 characters at once. Like I don't have a lot of tables that could do that, but like I think I could. I think you could. I think we have friends that could for sure. And it'd be interesting to play 2 people who are not necessarily at odds, but trying to like get along together.
Well, what's interesting about with the parasites, because I haven't seen D and Angel, and so this to me is heavy Fooly Cooly vibes. Like heavy Fooly Cooly with like a hint of like Evangelion, mixed in. But there is there with the like government entity, but also this other organization that's sending these like weird creatures after you. Very Fooly Cooly for sure. Yeah. And then but the thing with your parasite is it has its own goal, and it kind of and you can like basically like reject it, so it has to like work towards its goal while also maintaining your acceptance of it, which I think would be so much, but you're the one that has to decide. It's like playing chess against yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is definitely a game that I would want to play multiple times and really dig deep into.
Yeah, it's very like role play, socially deep. But it's cool. It has like multi phases, and it really kind of leans on that kind of like Japanese video, like RPG, JRPG, and anime. Like, you know, you have a social life, and like, you know, you have a regular life outside of just this like combat and stuff. And I really like that. I always feel like that always creates like this really well-rounded experience. If you're like going to school and then working a part-time job and then figuring out how to live along with your superpowered parasite that's being hunted by the government, I'm like, oh, that feels like a very full, well-rounded experience.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, everything Ricky, it's very heavily anime and manga inspired, and it all slaps. I mean, that's
it really does all slap. Yeah, I really do like this game, and I like the combining of like the aspects of the parasite and like your character for rolling, and like it's very cool. I really want to play this. I'm very interested in what it feels like to play this game. Yeah, that's.
I gotta say, this is my favorite fucking piece in the whole thing. Of course, it's one that looks. Yeah. Of course, it's the one that looks like black armor, you know. But but yeah. So yeah. So what do we? Yep. So what are we giving it?
Oh, you know, we'll give it I think we should give it some numbers. So visuals. It is very nice visually. I feel like I am back and forth between two numbers, Ryan. I might let you decide this because I don't think you and I went over this together, did we?
I don't think we did. I think this is one of the ones that we both like. This is the last one that we needed before, and then we got delayed on this a little bit. So, I mean.
So I have right now. I'll tell you because I have numbers written down for this, but you go ahead and give your input. So it's not.
Oh, man, I can see them. They're right there.
Oh yeah. It's not black and white, right? Like there's good art all the way through. For me personally, I'm really between a 7 and an 8. It's very clean to look at. It's stylish.
Yeah, I mean the layout's fucking great.
Layout's really good.
Yeah, it's really well done. This is a way to elevate your layout without necessarily having like a shit ton of art. Is to like the red as opposed to just the white, having these pages that are all just like there's whole pages that are just like quotes that have like really cool artistic backgrounds to it.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I do like those pages, and they all have shapes on each individual like quote page that are different.
Layout's fantastic. There's not a shitload of art. I don't think you need a shitload of art, but the art that is there, I think the Mon art, that sketchy anime style, is so fucking perfect for this. I mean, I'd be good with an 8.
Cool. Let's do an 8. I'm good with that. So
all right. So 8 visually for MG Cycle. All right.
And the rule set, a Rookie Jet classic of combining the 2 dice to like figure out what you roll. Like very cool. I like the duality nature of the 2 characters. I mean, I like the stuff that's put in to like create conflict between like your characters and the world. So I'm a good 7 for this one.
I'm good at 7 on this. Yeah.
Heavily vibey. Incredibly vibey, visually really cool, feeds into this like very anime, fully cooly D and Angel vibe. I'm going with an 8.
I think that feels good. I think the zine itself does really lend itself to the vibes. I think the layout and the art style are perfect as exactly what you want from the vibes. Like it's hard to read this and not go I want to play this game, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another 23. Lots of 23s here. But yeah. So my next one we have, let's hide these real quick. We have kind of We have a game we did, Lucid. This is one of the Patreon rewards, I think, from Adam Bass. So it's a lot of the Patreon rewards are a little bit smaller than their full games, obviously. We went over this when we were talking with Asterlich, because it was a small zine. That's the reason we did go over it. So this is, when we think of this in context to like the rest of Adam's stuff, usually a lot of their stuff is there's a lot more to it.
Right.
So, but this one still slaps. And actually, the first time I read it, I had never read the push SRD. And then I read the push SRD and read this again and was like, oh, okay. So Lucid is a consciousness manipulating tabletop role-playing game by Adam Bass, which I feel like is all their role-playing games. They all fuck your brain, dude. They fuck your brain and your heart and your soul. And yeah. So, as we said, this is based on the push SRD. There are some inspirations to it: Possessor, Nightmare on Elm Street, Inception, Walking Life, and the two-phase structure inspired by Torque from Will Jobst, which is a game we should go over. We should do that one too.
Yeah.
And the mission structure, randomly generated psychedelic landscape, is derivative of Necronihilus, which absolutely fucking slaps. And it's based on the push SRD from Cesar. I'm gonna say it wrong because I'm terrible at words. Do you think it's a hard C or a soft C? Capacle. I'm not gonna do it. Cesar. Check it out. It's great. I got it physically, and it's wonderful. Push SRD is a really interesting system of pushing stuff. So when I read this the first time, I really loved it. And then when I read the push SRD, I realized that the way the push SRD works is push isn't really a game. It is literally just an SRD. And it basically says, take this and skin it how you want, and then you have a game. And that's basically what Adam did here. So that does kind of change how you view the game a little bit, because it's not even really a hack. It's just like they took the push SRD and followed the instructions and made something that was really fucking cool. You know, so basically in this game,
it's not a reskin, it's a skin, you know,
it is a skin. It follows the directions. So basically you are dream warriors, a powerful sect of sleeper agents guarding an ever-thinning veil between waking life and walking nightmare. And you convene with other agents in your waking life while carrying out missions deep in the folds of others' minds, waging war against the nightmares that aspire to invade our physical reality. Your missions take place across two phases: when you are awake and when you are dreaming. So like, right off the bat, you're dream warriors. It definitely hits that kind of Inception vibe, but definitely kind of more, vibe to it. Nightmare on Elm Street, definitely. Yeah. The layout is absolutely stunning. It's this. I mean, there's somewhere there's like clearly a hand coming through, but it's definitely got this very like blue and pink vibe to it, a very like cyan and magenta, but a little bit darker. There's some navy and some darker pink in it too. And much like a lot of Adam's stuff, they every page is individually laid out. There's not necessarily there's not just like two columns or something. Every single page has a different background. Every single page has the words in a different spot. Every single page is individually laid out in a different way for the most part. The whole zine kind of has this little bit of like a 3-column thing with some in 2 columns, some in 1 column, some across all 3. But it's just really good, really interesting, really well done. I absolutely fucking love the use of these giant letters that are just outlined to the letters that are hollow. It's really, really beautiful. And there's very little actual art throughout the entire zine. There's maybe just a couple of these like almost more logo-ish style pieces. And then those giant words are really used as art throughout. And it's really gorgeous as far as that goes. So
yeah, it's very cool looking zine.
Yeah. Yes, it is super cool looking. Big old page on safety tools. The core system that is used throughout this. Let me get to where it actually says. So this is what pushing kind of does. So on a result of conflict, when your character attempts something dangerous or dramatically interesting, you roll 1d6. Each player should attempt an interesting action at least once per conflict. So the way the system works is on a 5 or a 6, that is a strong hit. On a 1 to a 4, that's a weak hit. You always hit. You always get to kind of do what you want to do. It's not just combat and other things you want to do. You can either succeed in a strong way or succeed in a weak way, right? But you can, on a 1 to 4, choose to add another 1d6 if you want, but you have to add it. It's very blackjack, don't go over 21, because there's another mechanic. If you go over a 7, you miss. So you only miss if you try to push your roll to get a better outcome for you. And you're highly encouraged to push to get that. And that is the core mechanic of the entire push SRD, really boiled down. In the entire mechanic of this is you always hit. It's strong or weak. And on a weak, you can push to try to get to a strong, but if you push too far, you miss. You love it. I think it's super smart. It's super clever.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And that's really the whole game. And then you're Dream Warriors that fight nightmares. So there's oracles and stuff involved, but not going to dig too deep in it. This one is really fun, but it is really light. And when you actually do get into the disasters and nightmares and the rolls that you can do for your threats and inhabitants, they're really, really clever all the way through, like a family of cannibals. Hello. So
just normal world champ game stuff.
Right. Spiked Nightmare, Lord of the Sea. That basically takes up a whole page. So getting to the review for Lucid, again, this game is really it was a Patreon reward, so it's a smaller game in Adam's
repertoire offerings,
portfolio, whatever.
Portfolio is a better word.
And it really was, I think, just a way to go, I really love the Push SRD. Let's make a Push SRD game. And they did a really, really fantastic job with it. So, visually, I gave this an 8. I think that, once again, the way Adam always does, every single page is designed in a completely different way. The backgrounds are always different. There's nothing that's super consistent all the way through in a great way. I think the colors are fantastic. I think they really feed into the concept of dream and nightmare. Like the visuals you get of someone like putting their hands against the page from the background a bunch of times is really neat. And then the use of the giant words, both hollow and not hollow, as art, but also still as part of the zine itself. Super, super clever. So that was a solid 8 for me on that. Rule set. So this is kind of one of those things. I think that when you're hacking or just like using a game like this, the rule set, like depending on how hard you hack it, it comes down to, are you just reskinning a rule set? No, I think they just followed the directions of Push and wanted to make a Push game, and that's what they did. Right. They made a Push game. They added a tweak to it with the awake and dreaming kind of like 2-phase system. But for me, I gave this a 6 for that because, like I said, really they just like made a Push SRD game. Oh, I didn't change that. So that's a 6. And then for vibes for me, I gave an 8 for this.
Super vibey, incredibly vibey.
I mean, this is what you want from vibes. Visually, it sets the mood the whole way through. The oracles throughout are fantastic. The use of design, the use of the words, the use of the art. I mean, this is a super fucking vibey game for a much smaller game, and for a game that, as we said, is pretty much just like following the directions for of how to build a Push SRD game. This is really, really fantastic. So 22 for this, I think is super solid. I mean, this goes to show you, even in Adam's kind of like smaller offerings, they fuck incredibly hard.
Yeah, they're really great.
So that is Lucid. What do you got next?
Now we have a true classic of the channel. We're doing Helm by Mr. John Davis, Civid Sanctum himself.
I'm sad how long it took me to figure out that Civid Sanctums was just John's last name. That's very funny. It hurts me a little bit how dumb I felt after that.
Now we're just going through volume 1. There are 3 volumes, and potentially more. in the ether somewhere.
No, there's a bunch more. There's a bunch more.
I don't have them, so they don't exist yet to me.
Oh, well, I mean, I have them, which means by proxy you have them.
Yeah, but that's fair. I should get the physical. Oh.
Yeah. So if we actually go to Helm here, Civic Sanctum Helm, there is let me pull that out over here just so you guys all know, and I don't even know if I have them all downloaded.
There's Beast and Brutes, Siege Warfare, Mercenaries, and Black Powder. Those are the ones I don't have.
Yeah.
But they're cool, colorful. Yeah, so I got the old school black and white, brother. I don't know about this new colorful cover thing. So, this is a dark fantasy, medieval, brutal role-playing game about not being the hero, maybe being the people who clean up after, the very killable normies that exist in the world.
You're just like a grunt. You're just a grunt soldier.
You're a lot of nobodies that have a sword. This is a 2d6 roll under, but it's success or success with complication. Like there's no like failure. It's like you do it, but now you're all fucked up because of something else happening, which is very, very, very cool. You have individual limb stats that are how much damage your limbs can take, and also they attribute to your saves for the limb. Is that correct? Go off top.
I believe so. Yeah.
And then like you can take serious injury on each of your individual limbs in combat, and you have to roll for serious injury on those limbs, which I thought was a lot of fun when we played it. What else is great about this? There's a lot of stuff that's great about this. I'm reading the notes.
When you roll your 2d6 in combat, the first is damage and the second is the location of the hit.
First is damage and the second is the location of the hit. So cool. This limb-based damage thing is really, really, really very cool. And I wish I saw more of it in games. There's also what's the clock? The survival clock.
Oh, yeah. So every time you survive an encounter, you mark a segment on your clock.
And you eventually advance from fulfilling your clock.
If you don't spin them, but you can spin them in combat to like make additional attacks, prevent damage, overcome injuries, to survive, which is interesting because like
pretty unforgiving in this game.
It is. But like using the clock to like, if you survive, you get points, but sometimes you have to use the points you've earned to survive. Like it makes it really difficult to advance, which is, I think, really clever. It keeps you, feeling like a little wretched bastard.
Yeah. You're a little piece of shit guy, I really like this game. I feel like the only thing we played this and the only thing that we didn't like about this game is only one thing was, I believe it's called the frenzy die.
Yeah. Not a fan.
Yeah. Which randomizes, enemy damage.
So it creates
what did it randomize?
It randomized like a bonus to everybody kind of each round. Right. Yeah. Which was, I think we actually played this on stream and John murked the fuck out of us. I think part of it was the adventure was really fun.
Funny, though.
Yeah, part of it I think was the adventure was really fun, but for this system where things just kept adding in, it made it difficult. But the other part is that like when you fight a bad guy, they kind of work the same way you do, where you have to get above a certain amount of damage in order to give them a wound. But like after you cross that threshold, it doesn't matter. So if it's 3 and you do 20, it really didn't make a difference. So like you'd be like, all right, I did 1,000,000 damage. That dog's got to be dead, right? And it's like, no, they did 1 wound. Because the frenzy die can add like 6 more on top of that. So you're like, there's no way I did 30 damage and the thing is still standing and it just marked off 1 wound. So between the frenzy dice and that, like it felt unforgiving in like not like the funnest way because of the frenzy die.
Right.
But a simple tweak, either not use it, because it was added, I think, later into the second volume. To not use that
I would not
be
use
totally
it.
fun.
So, yeah. But I think like the limb based stats and like damage is like where this game shines the most. Like it's so entertaining, it's so funny, and then like rolling your dice and like rolling your 2d6 and like the first one being like your damage and the second one being to wear is like a very clever way to parse that out as well to make it feel like you're hitting different limbs. Very cool.
I mean, even the sheet is really cool. Where is it? Where's that fucking sheet?
Very actually end. All the way at the end.
I love like the piece of art that was used, and there actually is like the head, the arm, like, and it's such a well designed character sheet. It's really, really, really cool. So, yeah,
very cool. That's Helm. It's very short, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is 3 volumes. If you go through all 3 volumes,
but like the player facing one Man at Arms is incredibly short.
Yeah, it's only like 16 pages.
Not poorly so. It's good.
No. Yeah. So what? Cool. So what are you thinking?
So visuals, it is an incredibly basic layout. It does have some public domain art. It is very nice and clean, but it is black on white backdrop. There is spot art as you go through it, and there's pretty much art every page, and then like a full page art on the other page. There's like actually a surprising amount of art in here for how small this is. So I would give visuals a 6. You know, it's above the just black and white. There is enough, even though it's public domain art, there's enough of it. Like, and for how many pages there are all the way through, like to like flip a page and there'd be like a spot art and a full page, and to flip the next page and there'd be like a spot art and a full page of art. And like, that's pretty good.
I think this is a really, really, really fantastic example, once again, of like how to use public domain art in a really, really positive way, in that it looks like they really took the time to find pieces that, like, it all feels cohesive. It doesn't feel mishy-mashy. It doesn't feel like 10 different artists. Right. I don't know how many different artists were used throughout, but it felt like it fit all the way through, and it felt consistent all the way through. And like you said, like actually having like using a piece as a full page piece and taking up that page real estate to do that really helps too. So yeah,
that's how I feel. Yeah. So 6 for that.
All right.
Rule set. I think the rules are a lot of fun. I like the fact that it's like there's not failing. There's just like, sure, you do it, but now. Love that. Really like the limb-based system. I would give this a 7. I think like the one knock was the frenzy die, which isn't mentioned in here, but is in, I think, the next the quartermaster. But yeah, still very great. Really enjoyed the game. I liked playing it. It was fun. So, and vibe. It does have like a very brutal medieval you're nobody vibe, and I really appreciate that. And I do want to play this when I read it. So this one for me is a 7.
All right. I do feel the same. We did get to play it, and that's the thing, is like I want to play it again. I want to play a slightly different style of adventure, one that's maybe not so like bottle. But I want to fucking kill stuff. Like I feel like we just got our ass handed to us.
It was a 17th century minimalist adventure that we did. And I kind of liked it for that. I think just the frenzy die was what threw me off, but like I liked the bottle adventure, you know?
Yeah, I really like the adventure. I just don't know whether it was a frenzy die or just this like really brutal system that I think maybe it might not have been like the ideal one for it. But yeah, the frenzy die really fucked us. I just felt like we got our ass handed to us, and every time that the next person just like came in, we got our ass handed to us more. Like I just want to kill something. I want to kill something and help, you know? Yeah.
It's not about winning. It's about getting your ass kicked.
Well, this is the game for that then. All right, so that was Helm. We only have a couple left. The next one is... Oh, let me hide Helm. Where's Helm? Where's Helm? Oh. Patchwork World 6E. So, this is from our buddy Aaron King. Great, fantastic human being.
Absolutely.
Let's go to this page real quick. So Aaron King's Patchwork World 6th edition. How hard does this cover slap, by the way?
Oh,
like
tremendously. It's such a good cover.
It's so it's a person, it's a lady, but they have like the 6 wings of an angel, but like the angel, and then there's like nails driven through their head. And then over top of all of that, it says Aaron King's Patchwork World 6th edition in like a pink transparent over it. Like the first time I saw this cover, I was like, I don't know what it is or who that is or what the fuck's going on, but I must own it. Yeah. And this is one of those ones I was talking about before where I'm like, God, like, thank you past me for getting this before you knew, because now you know who Aaron King is and what this is, and you did a good fucking job. Like, this is great. So yeah, so this is Patchwork World 6th edition. This is basically a Powered by the Apocalypse game that just gets rid of a lot of stats and moves, and instead asks open-ended questions. So it's really just 2d6 mixed success using clocks and tracks. And yeah, it's great. It's got a really super basic layout. It's really just black on white. There is some art throughout done by an artist, but also there's some public domain art like this one right here of the like circus performer shooting a cannon off of her shoulder.
Yeah.
But there's also, you know, there's some art. Oh, here we go. A lot of art in here from Kevin Budnick. Really great pieces. So it's good that there's some consistent pieces and styles throughout. But for those that don't know Powered by the Apocalypse, I mean, at its core, it is the 2d6 mixed success. And then you can attempt to do moves, which again, this is different. It asks more open-ended questions. And then the World of Patchwork World itself, there's like one page that talks about the entire thing. And it says, all the worlds in it together, heavens and hells, kingdoms and wastelands and everything in between. As they broke apart, the heartless princess saved the bit she could, shoving them together and crowning the resultant patchwork world with her icy city to hold it together. And the part she couldn't save now orbit around in a cacophony of satellites called the Straying Quarter. That's really it. That's the whole. It's like 4 sentences.
Yeah.
Lots of vibe in those 4 sentences.
Yeah, really. You're like, yeah, you really get an understanding for this weird like patchwork world. Whoa.
Crazy. I will say, like, I love this book, but I think we both talked about this a bunch of times. Like, there's more to the game than that. As in, like, character creation is really a lot of fun stuff, but this book really I've read it multiple times and it really feels more like a primer for how to run a PBTA game really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like this explains PBTA way better than, well, I guess I've never actually read Powered by the Apocalypse. I've read like Dungeon World and stuff. So maybe I need to actually read Powered by the Apocalypse.
It's not a very pretty sometime. Book, so
no, well, it's apocalypsy, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, to me, it really shines as a primer on how to do Powered by the Apocalypse, because it breaks down even to like the shorthand of like dice rolls. It gives like a grid, like a matrix on generating like D66 stuff. Like there's so many tools and tips and tricks throughout the entire thing. Like I said, it's a game, but it feels more like a primer on how to run a game really well, specifically Powered by the Apocalypse. And Aaron is a huge PBTA fan. They've written some other stuff about PBTA, but really a lot of it comes down to that, and then a lot of the open-ended questions and goals and things like that, and the way that you guide your character through this patchwork world is really interesting. I don't really have like a ton else to say about it. It's really cool. It's really fun. It's really interesting. But again, it feels like almost more a primer for PBTA games as opposed to like really digging into its own game as much. So visually, you know, I feel like this is a solid 6. It's black and white layout. It does have some non-copyright art, but it's got a ton of just like public domain art in it. I feel like if the whole vibe of the book would have been like the cover, this thing would just slap so fucking hard.
It would be crazy all the way through. If it was like, it was this cover all the way through. Yeah, I super agree.
Yeah, I think it just it kind of just turns into kind of like mishmash of public domain art and stuff that doesn't feel. It kind of almost gives me almost like like an Arc Mamedos vibe, where it's just like, so there's a random person with a magnifying glass, like, okay, yeah. You know what I mean, kind of vibe. Yeah. But it's cool. It's great. It's super readable. There's just not a whole lot visually going on with it. Rule set wise, it's a PBTA game with some adaptations in that you get rid of the moves and you ask these open-ended questions instead, which is really fun, really interesting. I think this is a really great way to do mixed success. But beyond that, there's really not a whole lot besides Powered by the Apocalypse in it, or the core of PBTA in it. So I gave that a 6 as well. And vibes, once again, like I really, when I finish reading this, I think it's really fun and interesting. But but
it's just prepping you. It's just prepping you. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's just prepping you to play like PBTA, like a PBTA.
Yeah, like when I finish the book, like what it wants me to, more than like wanting to sit down and play it, like it makes me want to read it again so I can better understand how to do 2d6 mixed success and like how to keep people in that world and how to really encourage people to play in that. So like as a game, like I said, it doesn't make me, I think those 4 lines in the beginning of lore really cool, but like as you read through it, like I said, it just feels more like a primer for other PBTA games, and as that, I think it's fucking fantastic. But as a game on its own, like I just it's cool. I really like it. I love Aaron. I think this is neat. I want to play. I'd love to play with them and have them run us through this game.
So would I.
But yeah. So that gives this an 18, because I know what 6 times 3 is.
Nice.
I say that and then I'm wrong, right? No, I'm right.
So it looks like you only have one more than I did. So you're going back to back right now. I thought you had
shit. Yeah. No, that's it. Okay, so the very last one we're going to do today, let me hide Patchwork World, is Merger.
Oh, I forgot to grab Merger. That's the another scene I forgot. Oops.
All right. Merger, a single-player macrocosmic corporate horror RPG. This is from Michael Elliott, Not Writing Games. This game slaps, as does the cover.
Yeah, it does. It's a really cool one.
Yeah,
I feel like this was a very early on. We featured it when we used to kickstart the podcast, like forever ago.
Oh, this is one of the ones where we did it as a kickstart the podcast, and then we reviewed it.
Yeah,
because it delivered, and then we got it, and we were so glad we kicked. So yeah, there's only a couple that we actually got to do that, where we actually talked about the project funding and then actually talked about it once it came out. So this is a really great one. This is also one of the only solo games that we've done. I think we've only done maybe 2 or 3. We did 12 years. We did Merger, and then we did why is my brain break? Marching Order.
Oh yeah, we did. Cool.
So yeah. So this is Michael Elliott. This is based on Blades in the Dark, which you may be hearing more about from us sooner than later.
I'm reading it right now.
Woo woo. So one thing I do love right off the bat is the use of photography in this, as opposed to public domain art or anything. Like this piece right here is so vibey, where it's like a silhouette fading into a person, but it's like a business suit. Really, really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
But basically the premise of the game is you are just a cog in a giant corporation, but those corporations are actually eldritch beings. And for some reason, real life. Right? But for some reason you can see it. And you decide to fight it, survive it, do whatever, try to defeat these corporate entities, these corporate eldritch entities. You try to do that. So basically it's got this Blades in the Dark style dice pool success system that you use. You get to, again, this page is really fantastic. I know that Michael told us what this was for, and I completely forget what it's for, but the words on this matter in a way that I should remember. but it's the page where it's like words, but it's the person like also coming through. I don't remember what it's for. But you get to assign traits based on die sizes, and then you get to battle these progressively more difficult corporate entities. But as you do, you get skills that you can use, but you also get... you can sacrifice parts of yourself.
Yeah, you lose stuff as you go along. It gets harder as you go.
Yeah, you can do sacrifices, you can gain corruption, and then you can also learn corporate secrets to use against the corporate entities themselves. But yeah, like you said, if you happen to actually get to the end where you can win the game, there's not going to be a whole lot of you left, because you have to give up skills and memories and like all of these parts of yourselves in order to get that far, because you have this corporate roles and the action roles, and a corporate body has associated die with them, which are d8s, d10, d12s, right? But your dice are not that big. The dice that you get to assign to yourself are like d4s, d6s, d8s, and d10s. So you are the lowest dice from D4 to D10, and they're the highest dice from D8 to D12. So the odds of you defeating them and rolling against things is very slim. So you will often take stress or sacrifice traits in order to succeed, to go forward. But as you do, you're sacrificing yourself, you're sacrificing your traits, and you're sacrificing who you are in order to do that. So it's just really fun, really interesting. I think we might have done like another corporate horror game at the time, or like the world felt extra shitty when we were reading this for some reason. But like
I
corporate
think we were
horror
doing,
hit hard.
Cyborg and like other yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it was a lot, and it just felt a lot at the time. So the encounter summary is a great thing here. So basically you read the encounter. So you read the scene against a corporate entity, you make a corporate die pool. So you put all the dice together for the corporate roll, and then they roll that, and then you imagine your character's approach. So you add die for any traits you have that are good for this encounter, for any corporate secrets you have. You can push yourself and give yourself some strength from stress. You can sacrifice your traits to gain stress, but to also add to your dice pool, and then you do a roll, and it's really your roll versus the corporate roll. But if you notice, the corporate roll gets all these pluses with bigger dice, and then your role is a bunch of stress and sacrifice and scheming to try to get smaller dice, but a bigger number. So it's a really fun mixed success dice pool system that's neat. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, I think this one, I feel like not enough people know about Merger, because it's really good.
It's really, really, really good. So I recently I read through the Blades in the Dark SRD again to see how this is different, and the way that they bring in that, like, corporate entities have the higher dice, you have the lower dice, and you have to do all of these things to try to even get close to the dice pool that they have, and how much you have to sacrifice yourself to do it. Yeah, is such a good adaptation of that, like, mixed success dice pool. It's really neat and super well done. It's
a good reminder that to fight our oppressive overlords in real life, we'll have to make real sacrifices.
Yeah. Ether Rich, billionaire shouldn't exist.
Rich.
Yeah. And yeah. So visually, this thing has a super clean layout. The photography use
is super cool, man.
Yeah, really well done. Like the pictures of the pills,
the one for
meat.
You know, the one for meat, the corporate body. It's just some guy's face on two buildings.
Where's meat? Yeah. Yeah. So well done. The beginning of the corporate bodies. Yeah, just all throughout. So this to me was a solid 7. For the art. Rules wise, so it is a Blades in the Dark hack. It is a Forged in the Dark kind of situation. But having read through Blades in the Dark, this is a really, really fantastic adaptation to turn it into a solo game and to turn it into corporate horror. And one of the things that we find the best thing you can do for your rule set is to have rules that continuously reinforce the game, reinforce the rules you already have, and reinforce the setting you have.
This is a great example of that. You're right. It totally is. It's like you're sacrificing to like fight off these more powerful die sizes. Like it. But you're right.
But what you're sacrificing is part of you. It's the traits that make you up. So even if you win at the end, you're nothing. Like, that's so well done, so clever. Like, again, this game should be way bigger than it is. This, in my opinion, is right up there, at least equal with like The Wretched, in that this system of game could be used for so many things. And could be adapted into more than just corporate horror. Like imagine leaving something like a swamp, and you're having to like defeat these like eldritch or like foresty like
imagine like
things, or
leaving your swamp and you have to fight like a strong kingdom that's like shipped a bunch of fairy tale creatures to your swamp. You know?
Yep. And if you sacrifice, you can get a talking donkey. You get to fuck dragons. Anyway, so rule set easy 8 for me for this. I think it's great.
I think it's really appropriate. You know, I think it's a good score for that.
As far as the hack goes, I mean, you basically took like the bare minimum, which was a dice pool mix success system, and ran the fuck over there with it. Yeah. And then vibes are an easy 8 on this too. I mean, for all the reasons we just said, every aspect of the game continuously reinforces itself. The visuals throughout the zine reinforces itself. I mean, you can't look at the zine and read the rules and not go, fuck, I want to fight the powers, you know?
Yeah. Start lighting your Molotov cocktails. Nice. Yep. So 23.
Man, that's a lot of 23s today. But
they're all different though. They're all different. Yeah.
I agree. So some had 6s, some had 8s, some had 7s, some had 8s. Like, it's just really cool. Is that it? Is that all 15?
That was it.
You did yours, yeah. So that means that we have now reviewed everything that we talked about, I think, on the show.
Nice.
We've reviewed.
Our review podcast has reviewed everything. So
happy 100, buddy. When did you actually come on to the podcast? What episode?
3, I think.
Is that when that was Lancer part? So I did Merkborg. I think I did 2 Troikas, and then you came on for...
I came on for the second part of Troika 2. Because Troika was 2 episodes.
Yeah, you guested on to the second part of Troika 2, but I think you have officially became a co-host for that. Would have been episode 4, Lancer, part 1.
Yeah, which we started with Lancer, which is like, hey, we're going to start with the most brutal fucking thing we could read.
Oh, my God. And that's when we were like, we're never doing a big game again and not doing 2-parters.
And we never have.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really interesting. So just to touch on some other things about the podcast, you know, like we said at the top, we have adjusted the URL. We have this new beautiful layout. Let us know how gorgeous it is. I did a good job. You're welcome.
You did a great job, buddy.
Thanks, pal. We are at 943 subs over on the Weekly Scrolls YouTube. Do us a huge favor. Please go subscribe to that. When we get to 1,000, I guess we get to do fun stuff. Jason's really in charge of the YouTube, but it'd be cool to be a YouTube partner. That'd be fun. On the old let's just give a little breakdown of some of the podcast stuff too. That's really interesting. So on the podcast, not on YouTube, we are currently sitting at what are we looking at? 15,500 plus plays on the podcast, which is really fantastic. Super appreciate that. And this is one of my favorites. This is the episode rankings. This gives us our top 10, right?
Okay, so, hit me with it. Let's do top 5.
What I'll give 10 up. What do you think is number 1, and then I'll start from 10 and go up.
Oh, I think number 1 for podcast. I'm gonna give you 2. It's either gonna be Cyborg or Shadow Dark.
Interesting. So at number 10, we have our Kevin Rockman interview and Forbidden Psalm.
Oh, nice. That's on our top 10. Sick. That's a great one.
Yeah. Number 9 is actually Mothership Zero Edition. Can't wait to go back and do a 1.0. I have to watch what we said before, reference the 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it as well.
Okay. Number 8 is Shadow Dark.
Okay, cool, good. I didn't want it to be number 1, but it's very popular on our YouTube. So
yeah, it did blow up. Yeah. 7 is Black Sword Hack. 6 is Trophy Dark and Gold. 5 is actually the year in review for last year.
Oh, cool.
A lot of people really watch that. 4 is Troika Part 1. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like we should redo Troika together and make it Troika one part. Together. Yeah. 3 is Death in Space.
Okay.
2 is Merkborg.
That makes sense.
And 1 is Cyborg. And I will say,
there you go,
that Cyborg, Merkborg, and Death in Space are pretty far out ahead of like everything else. The column goes like this, and then goes whoop, like that. So that's our top 10.
Big shocker there.
Yeah. So listen, this has been a great 100 episodes. I mean, we've done more like 115. Seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is us.
Yeah.
I feel like this is that Paul Rudd meme where it's like Paul Rudd talking to Paul Rudd. Who'd have thought? 100, fantastic. Thank you all so much for being here. Listen, also do us a favor, go give us reviews on Apple. People watch it over there. We don't have a ton of reviews over there, so that'd be great if you hit us 5 stars for that, if you think we're worth 5 stars. But that is our episode. All of our links are at the bottom. The easiest thing is our link tree, which is linktree/The Weekly Scroll. You can find all of our stuff there. You will see me tomorrow on the show interviewing the creator behind Planet X Games. So that will be a good time, talking about the iWizard and a new project coming out for that. And on Sunday, we're going to be reviewing Fist, the Ultimate Edition. So
very excited for that. I'm a big Fist guy, so I love fisting.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
All right, we will see you all later. Thank you all for being here. Bye.
Bye.